awaiting the arrival of the teams for this year's first All-Ireland football semi-final between Kerry and Tyrone. Joe Brolly, as you can see, Colin Burke still here with me in the presentation. But Joe, you want to actually talk about some of the individuals on both teams and some outstanding footballers on both sides indeed.
No, we were just discussing the fact that you know, it should be a feast of football, and some of the footballers here today have really mastered all of the skills. You know, aside from Canavan and Moynihan, the key man for Tyrone this year in terms of their confidence and lifting them up has been Kavanagh. I mean, when you think of it, he's only 20 years of age. I mean, last year when he was 19, he arrived on the scene with a stupendous last-minute catch and goal against Armagh in the drawn game. Do you remember that? It was a sort of time was on ball pumped in high. There he was, edge the square against the Armagh defence. No one does this to them. Like, caught it high, turned, stuck it in the net. And you know, that act of defiance defines Sean Kavanagh, because not only is he a tremendously elegant footballer, I suppose you could describe him as an elegant bruiser, because he can take it anyway. He can score off either foot, and all year long he's been one of their most potent attacking forces, and also, I mean, ranging all over the field. Yeah,
but I often wonder, when you see a midfielder like Sean Kavanagh, and he's always inside in the full forward position looking to score goals, and he's scoring points, you often wonder, can this fella be doing his job in midfield and defending? Oh, you know, he must have a Rolls-Royce engine.
He has an unbelievable engine. I mean, because he caught a ball in the square at one stage in the quarter-final.
Like, you have the same thing with Kevin Hughes. Now, I know the Tyrone players, they're sort of interchangeable nearly in all positions. You have the backs can come up and score, you have the forwards defending. You know, they play a loose type of pattern when they have the ball. Players can go anywhere. But, you know, whereas Kerry midfield would play more midfield, and they'd be staying very much in their positions there.
Well, gentlemen, there's the team that lost last year's All-Ireland final. I mean, great celebrations for the county of Armagh winning their first, and it's something that obviously Tyrone would dearly love to repeat. But to do that, they're going to have to beat this Kerry team. The team and the panel then getting onto the bench for the traditional photographs before this match. We might take this cue at the moment then to join our commentary team for the afternoon, just briefly. That's Ger Canning and Martin Carney.
Thank you indeed, Michael, and we're looking, as you have been there, at the Kerry team and just trying to make out the wonderful numbers that they have on the back. Not that Paddy is one little bit worried about that. He knows them inside out, and well he might, with 2 All-Ireland titles under his belt so far, and so many wonderful talents available to him. There's John Sheehan there, and John Sheehan today playing in his 9th championship match, perhaps the least experienced member of that particular back line. And we're going to take a check on the teams. One change for the Munster champions as they bid to be in a 3rd final in 4 years. The aforementioned John Sheehan, who replaced Mark O'Shea in the quarter-finals, he's nominated for left half-back. Well, the backs came in for plenty of adverse criticism after the Roscommon game, so it'll be interesting to see whether Seamus Moynihan and the others actually switch positions in any way to cope with Tyrone's expected game plan. Darragh O'Shea has had an extra 3 weeks, of course, to recover from an ankle injury, and given his best form, he could ensure a plentiful supply of ball into the dangerous inside forward men like Mike Frank Russell, Declan O'Sullivan and Colm Cooper. There's a lot of scores among that lot, and then you look into the substitute list, and my goodness, they have so many quality players like Johnny Crowley in there, and Eildon McGarrett, who is joined on the panel by his brother number 30 there, Robert McGarrett, all of them from Gaeltacht. But if Johnny Crowley and Eildon McGarrett were to come in, they would present a big threat. And there's other players as well, like Declan Quill, and of course Donald Daly, who is a graduate from Tralee IT and very much a graduate of Paddy's teams over the last number of years, and a man who could figure in midfield at some stage during the action. Darragh O'Kinnaid there. Darragh, who is now a journalist working with Radio na Gaeltachta and playing today in his 42nd championship match. It's a wonderful record that he's got. As we head down towards the sideline, get a bit of an update now from a reporter down on the sideline, and that is Marty Morrissey. Marty.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Yes, I visited both dressing rooms, and I can tell you that Tyrone seem to be very relaxed, very focused on what's about to happen. They tell me, according to Mickey Hart at least, that they've never been better prepared. Gavin Devlin seemed to be also very relaxed despite his 12-week absence from being able to play. As the Tyrone team come out in the background, I can tell you that Kerry, in contrast, seem to be a little bit nervous and a little bit apprehensive. Seamus Moynihan will play at full-back, not as a sweeper, but will be there to stand in front of Declan O'Keefe.
Just listen to the contrast where the decibel level is concerned. I don't know about the numbers here. They're expecting about 60,000 people in Croke Park today on this gloriously hot summer's day, and I would think 4/5 of them seem to be supporting the men in red and white. Magnificent colour, great support. The one team in recent years from Ulster not to win the Sam Maguire Cup, and the man they all want to win it for, of course, their captain, Peter Canavan. And you think in terms of all the great players down the years, and I mean really great players who have not won All-Ireland medals, the first name that comes to mind for me at least is Dermot Earley Sr. in his Roscommon days. Well, there's one change in the Tyrone team today for the first of the All-Ireland semi-finals. Gavin Devlin has completed his 12 weeks inter-county ban and resumes duty at centre half-back. In the reshuffle, Kieran Gourley moves to right cornerback and Dermot Carlin steps down to the bench. Cormac McAnallen continues at full-back while Kevin Hughes and Sean Kavanagh prolong their partnership in midfield. And with Seamus O'Neill having an injury-interrupted season, the forward line more or less picked itself with target men, Peter Canavan and Owen Mulligan looking to inflict maximum damage, and the roving Enda McGinley essentially the minister without portfolio. And again, a quick look through the Tyrone substitutes, and they all have championship experience, the vast majority of them this year. Cormac McGinley, incidentally, the number 26, he's the only one who has not made a championship appearance in this particular campaign, but he did play last year. Mickey Hart, the manager, and of course supporting him, Paddy Talley, who's been training the team, and Father Gerard McAleer. And they've had quite a combination at minor under-21 level, and the progression made last November to step up and take charge of Tyrone. It's all in readiness then, and the throw in here about 15 minutes away. Michael.
Ger Canny, thank you very much indeed. Just reading during the week, gentlemen, my good friend Martin Breheny writing in the paper, he was trying to disabuse this notion that the Kerry defence is weak and is shaky, and in actual fact produce a lot of stats to prove otherwise indeed.
Yeah, but you can, statistics in football can prove anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand the point he was making, and it is quite a valid one, but you also have to take into account the quality of the attacks that Kerry have faced. And, you know, in fairness, Kerry and Tyrone are both similar in that they haven't played many outstanding teams to get here. So, you know, you have to take that into account. I think the problem for Kerry, and I made it always, that it's not Moynihan and McCarthy that are being done, and I think the Roscommon goals started outfield, and that the damage has been done by the Kerry half-backs not closing the gap between the two lines and leaving their full-back line slightly exposed. I think if the Tyrone half-forwards move way up the field today, that the Kerry half-backs, not maybe all of them, but certainly some of them, shouldn't even bother to follow their men up the field, because all they would do is leave a gap for Mulligan and Canavan to exploit.
And this, Joe Brawley, is pretty much what you expect is going to happen, that Tyrone will do this. You're saying they're going to bring their team back. So.
They'll definitely do that. And, you know, Kerry must, you know, subscribe to what all the successful teams are doing now, which is play the sweeper. Tom O'Sullivan, if I were the Kerry manager, Tom O'Sullivan would be on Canavan, and Moynihan would then take a free roll in front of the full back line whenever Enda McGinley, as he inevitably will, goes out the field. Just what Leash did against Armagh. Well, okay, you want to play a third midfielder. We're not going to sort of play into your hands. We'll keep our man here and patrol this area. Because if Canavan and Mulligan are held scoreless, or if it's difficult to get the ball through to them, it'll be a big boon for Kerry. The big worry for Tyrone, I think, is that Kerry can really blitz you. I mean, they hit the ground running so quickly in these games. I mean, against Roscommon and last year against Galway, the game's over after 10 minutes. I mean, they've got 1-7, 1-8 on the board, and they've got 6 excellent scoring forwards. I mean, I've never seen a team that starts as quickly, and Tyrone need to get the grips with the pace of that very quickly indeed, because, I mean, Armagh were clinging on for grim life all through the first half last year in the All-Ireland. You know, it was only in the second half when they started to get the grips with them. And for Tyrone, it's a new experience today, because although a lot of people favour Tyrone, this is really the big time now, and Kerry will play at a pace that they haven't seen before, so it's going to be a hugely interesting game.
Oh, shit, for sure. Coach Cooper, in your shot there from the Dr. Croke's club, of course, down in Kerry. Big day, Colin Road today for Peter Canavan. I mean, there's so much talk about Peter Canavan actually, you know, capturing Tyrone into an All-Ireland final, maybe winning it. But today is a big day for him.
It is, and it puts huge personal pressure on him as well. You know, okay, he's been around for 12, 14 years. He's been carrying the Tyrone forward line. He has a bit of help, but still, you know, if Tyrone are not functioning as they're working in the last 20 minutes of that Ulster final, Canavan is the man that they will look to bring them back into, to do something. Like, he won the penalty in that Ulster final, he got them going in. But I think that, you know, still, the ball has to come through to him, and it's the quality of ball that comes through is going to be vital. And I think, you know, if Darragh O'Shea has a big game in the middle of the field for Kerry, that'll help to tilt the scales in their way, towards them.
Yeah, but Canavan's game has changed a lot, Colin. You know, whereas there was a time, you know, in 95 and 96, whenever it was just give the ball to Canavan and stand back and let him score. Peter's not doing that anymore. He doesn't have the pace anymore. He doesn't have the youth on his side, you know, or the strength of kick even that he once had. But what he is now is the most effective link man. He brings other players into the game. He attracts the attention of 2 or 3 defenders, and then he lays it off to the man.
Yeah, but he also scores the frees. You know, he scores the pressure frees nearly all the time. He rarely misses the frees. And like, if you look at that Tyrone forward line, to me anyway, there's a lot of doubtful temperaments there. Like, Dooher to me won't score much. Cavlan is the sort of fella blows hot and cold. McGinley won't score much. But they're not used as forwards. And McGuigan won't score much. So Kerry will have to stop Kavanagh and Hughes coming through from the middle of the field and scoring. And if they're able to do that, they're in with a big chance. But it looks like a great game. You know, what you have is fantastic attacking talent on view today.
Well, we saw the toss there a moment ago, gentlemen. It looked like Michael McCarthy won the toss. From what I could figure out, he was indicating that they would play down, that Kerry, that is, would play down into the Canal goal, and that Tyrone would play into the Hill 16, and that's what I figured out from it all. Anyway, Jerry Kennedy, the referee for today's match. Looking otherwise at it, I mean, so much talk this year has also been on Owen Mulligan. Yeah. Who, now he catches the eye, as a big, tall, blonde-haired player will do, but he is a fine footballer.
Oh yeah, he's been very good. But again, I suppose, you know, you can only establish a player's pedigree when you see him playing on this stage. I mean, this is the stage now. If he performs today and he does what he has been able to do, and I mean, there are a lot of people in Tyrone who have put great faith in him, who really think he is the genuine article, and he started to look that way this year, determined, steely, focused, you know, which is unusual, because you would have thought that a fella who runs around getting his hair dyed in the hairdressers on a Saturday wouldn't have the mettle for it. But there you are, you know, this is the modern era. Like, if a guy like that had turned up in the dairy dressing room when I was there, you know, he would have been laughed out of the place.
He's auditioning for a role in Baywatch if he does well here today, I think, anyway. So
I think you're trying to put into the equation that he is actually wrong.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about the game today as well, and again it's one of these imponderables. I mean, everybody I've spoken to all week, you know, has been saying it's impossible to call. We just don't know who'll win the game. I mean,
when that's the case, then sometimes you simply have to go back to bald facts.
Yeah.
2 attempts to beat Derry, 2 attempts to beat Down, and then played Antrim in the other match, and admittedly murdered for mana.
Yeah, one of the big problems that they had in both of those games, against Derry and against Down, was the long ball into the square. You know, because they were being beaten aerially there by big Dan Gordon for Derry, and by a combination of Bradley and Enda Muldoon, etc. for Derry. Kerry don't possess that sort of threat. Kerry don't play directly into a bomber listen any longer. They play down the wings, and that'll quite suit Tyrone. Although, one of the interesting things about the Tyrone defence, I mean, you've got McAnallen at full-back, who's played 2 games there. Ryan McMenamin, who's in the other corner, is a wing half-back. Yeah. And Gurley's not a cornerback, so you have 3 full-backs who aren't natural full-backs. And, you know, against the sort of talent that they're up against, and they're very tricky forwards. You know their business inside out.
And the one thing about the Kerry forwards is they'll take on their men.
Absolutely.
And they're both Tyrone have given away a lot of frees.
Yeah.
And Darragh Canada, you know, he's not the fastest player around the pitch. He's been very deadly off the ground. And again, we've seen here that players kicking off the ground has tended to be more accurate in Croke Park than the players kicking from their hand. But Canada will probably punish the Tyrone backs, and I'm sure if Paddy O'Shea is looking at the Tyrone backs, he'll say to every Kerry forward, when you get the ball, you take on your man whenever is possible, because Tyrone history this year has been giving away a lot of frees.
Yeah, and take them on, as Joe said earlier, early at pace.
Yes.
And sort of try and burn them off a little bit.
And of course goals too are a big thing in this. Whoever is able to score goals, you know, they're in Croke Park now, in the pace of the game, there is a lot of goal scoring chances in almost every game here. We saw it in the minor match, and we see it in every senior game. You know, it's a most games there's 6 or 8 goal scoring chances.
All right, gentlemen, well, a lot of famous faces obviously at this match here today. A lot of people interested in the game, not just in the two counties. Down at the pitch side now, we're going to join Marty Morrissey, as a very fine, big, tall footballer. He's made a huge name for himself in Aussie rules football. Jim Steins.
Thank you very much, Michael, and indeed thankfully Jim Steins has decided to sit on the wall here, so at least we can have a very interesting conversation, and welcome him back all the way from Australia. Jim, it's great to have you back here in your own native soil as such in Dublin. Croke Park looks a little bit different again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just keeps getting bigger, but it's a great day, great weather, and it's been 20 years since I've been here and for September action for semi-finals, so it's a great buzz, great feeling.
This is a special day at all this time of the year. Kerry and Tyrone. What do you know about them? Have you seen any of the action down in Australia?
Oh, we don't see too much, but obviously, there's plenty of players that have played for Ireland against Australia in the last few years. So, be interested to see Canavan how he goes there, Shea in the middle of the field, and it's just really good. It's good to be here amongst the players. It's been so long. I really miss it. I must admit, I really miss it.
And the international rules, of course, coming up in October.
Yeah, and I'll get a chance to have a look at some players and do a little bit of homework for the Australians, which probably I'm jumping across the fence. But it's just great to be involved at that level, and particularly coming out here last year and being involved, and just the standard and the games are so close. So, Australia hasn't won over in Australia when we played there, so. The lads are really keen to put out a better team and give the Irish a bit of a run for their money.
I heard there's a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement in Australia at the moment about the international rules.
Oh yeah, huge, and it's on at the time of the year when the rugby's on the next day in Melbourne and the Melbourne Cup is on the Tuesday. And obviously Dermot Well will be out there trying to defend his title, so there'll be a lot of Irish in Melbourne that weekend.
We look forward to that as we now look forward to the All-Ireland football semi-final between Kerry and Tyrone. Back to you, Michael.
I think if Tyrone can stop them accelerating out of the blocks, they might just shade it, but it's one where predictions are futile, I think.
But give one anyway.
I hate to say anything in favour of Tyrone. It's against my religion.
I think Joe probably feels in his heart that Tyrone can do this.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the fear of losing again may be enough to drive Kerry on, so I'm going to go for Kerry.
Okay, Colin Moore goes for Kerry. Joe Bradley through gritted teeth. He's giving a small nod.
Crossed fingers.
Let's go back to Martin and Ger.
Well, it's interesting because, as was said earlier, it's so difficult to separate these teams at this particular stage. Martin, when we were leaving here 3 weeks ago after the quarterfinals, you'd have said to yourself, now Kerry are after regressing. They're yielding goals, but they shouldn't be. They're not as good as they could be. Tyrone looked terrific, and straight away Paudy felt, I'm sure, he's got a real problem. Now at this remove, with about 4 minutes to go to the start, it's impossible to separate them.
Very hard to separate them indeed, Ger. When we saw the second half against Roscommon, I think myself at half-time in that game, Kerry were home and hose. And certainly they had lapses of concentration in the second half that yielded 3 goals. Again, we mustn't kind of, in a sense, cast doubts about the quality of the Roscommon attack in that game. But I quite honestly believe that had it been a close game, Kerry would not have conceded those. Again, if you look at Tyrone in all their games have only scored 3 goals in the championship. One of those was as a consequence of a dubious penalty that brought them back into the game against Down. So for all their point scoring, they have been remiss in the goal scoring area. And again, of their forwards, Canavan has got 1 from a penalty, Kavanagh has got 1 from midfield. So Owen Mulligan is the only forward that has scored a goal from play on the Tyrone team. And again, he's going to be very tightly marked, I'd imagine, today by Thomas Sullivan.
When you look at the records, Martin, it shows Kerry 32 All-Ireland titles, Tyrone none. How relevant is tradition right now?
I don't think it has any relevance just out there for that 30 players that are about to start the game. Tyrone are certainly out there to make history, to actually forge a new kind of, shall we say, era for Tyrone football. They came in the 50s with the likes of Iggy Jones and, Jody O'Neill, great players, then into Frank McGuigan, Fergal Logan, wonderful players like Plunkett Donaghy. But these guys out here can do a first for Tyrone. They can take up where they left off in 1995 and in 1986. And okay, they have to get through the penultimate stage today, but certainly in terms of quality they have it, in terms of pedigree they have it, in terms of consistency they have it, because the National League win over the last 2 years has had to help them. The fact that they have won 2 All-Irelands at under 21 has had to help them, and I don't think they'll be lacking belief or lacking confidence, but I do think what they will lack is an experienced importance of playing against a team with the pace and the quality that Kerry in particular have in their attack. And remember, of the 6 games they have played, none of them have been against a non-Ulster team.
Kerry have won the toss, and they will play from left to right in the first half. A very, very light breeze behind them, but not very, very significant. And some switches involving Tomás O'Shea and Eamon Fitzmaurice straight away. Fitzmaurice has gone to right half, picking up Jared Cavallan. The referee, by the way, is Jerry Kenevi from Roscommon. A place in the All-Ireland final on the last Sunday in September at stake. Kerry, the Munster champions. Tyrone, champions of Ulster. The first of the Bank of Ireland football semi-finals just seconds away. And straight away picking it up here is the midfielder, Sean Kavanagh. Gonna have fun today with Kavanagh, Cavallan and Canavan all in the Tyrone colours. Numbers taking Owen Mulligan. Challenge there by Mike McCarthy. Good ball inside. The falling body of Cavallan recovers well. Taking on Fitzmaurice, going for it. Oh, a real hit from Hope on into the centre, and Moynihan is there quickly, wins his duel initially against Peter Canavan and clears. Tomás O'Shea operating at centre half back. In beyond Darrow Kinney, they should favour the back. Coming out for there was Ryan McMenamin. Out towards Philip Jordan. Very classy left half back Jordan. Sean O'Sullivan chasing after him, pushing and fouling him, and that's going to be a free in. And Peter Canavan can come out and kick the first point.
Yes, and what a brisk, pacey start from both sides. And again, just to kind of put viewers into the know about who's marking whom, Tom O'Sullivan is taking up Enda McGinley and Mike McCarthy is taking up Owen Mulligan. And it seems Moynihan and Canavan are one-on-one on each other.
At least at this stage in the game. A goal and 42 points so far in the championship for Peter Canavan. This to be the first point of the day. Hit with accuracy. Tyrone take the lead. So that's a very promising start indeed. But a long, long way to go. This is Cavallan in full flight earlier on here, taking on Eamon Fitzmaurice, who switched across with O'Shea, and the loose ball hanging around there, intended for Canavan, taken up instead by Seamus Moynihan. Declan O'Keefe is the senior man on this Kerry team, age 31. Nicely gathered in again by Jared Cavallan. Fitzmaurice giving him the first couple of balls here. Brian McGuigan inside towards Canavan. Canavan trying to get loose. McGuigan kept motoring. Kerry's defence in disarray, and it's punched over the bar. Good start by Tyrone. The Ulstermen are 2 points and off to a flyer. Brian McGuigan, the scorer there, the outstanding playmaker, showing himself to be an outstanding finisher as well. And that duel there involving Peter Canavan and Seamus Moynihan, won by the number 14. Yes, a very good start.
Yeah, let's applaud the role actually in that time of Jared Cavallan. That's the second time he's beaten Fitzmaurice to the ball down this side of the field.
So a decent start by the men from the Red Hand County. That's Conor Gormley. Here's Brian Dooher, man who will be flying all over the place. Back into space. This is with Seamus Moynihan. A little unsettled early on. A bit tentative, the Kerry backs. A lot of pressure being exerted in their direction. John Sheehan, foul this time. And there's a Tyrone player down on the ground. The foul was by Enda McGinley, but that's not Enda on the ground, that's Peter Canavan. Referee wants some words in there, and it is Mike McCarthy who's been spoken to. Declan O'Keefe calling on the referee just to talk with the referee, with the umpires, but it's definitely Mike McCarthy who's got the yellow, and under 4 minutes are gone. Awful start by Kerry, but they've loads of time to recover.
So I didn't see what happened that time. I think Peter Canavan was running out that time, and okay, Mike McCarthy had his hand out. There was nothing intentional in that whatsoever.
Absolutely not. Amazing to see that ended up in a yellow card.
Yes, but to be fair, Peter Canavan did actually take a blow to the face, even though it was completely unintentional, and now requires some attention for the cut.
And there is a blood substitute, and it's Stephen O'Neill who comes in. Very, very good forward, Stephen O'Neill. He scored 6 points this year in the championship, but he's had a very outstanding career at underage level and then into senior with the Ulster champions. Kavanagh beaten this time. Darrow O'Shea booting it outside. Moynihan trying to check his stride. Anxious to get forward. Leaving gaps at the back now. McGuigan picked it off the ground, and it's going to be a free out for Kerry. Take a little bit of the pressure off the defence. The ball has not really gone beyond the halfway point.
Yes, they're so eager, so ravenous at the moment. They have started very, very well, this Tyrone.
They've also managed to translate their possession into scores, vital early points. Cormac McAnallen hitting this free way down, gathered in well by Stephen O'Neill. The man who's on just momentarily for Peter Canavan as a blood substitute. Owen Mulligan, ready to take on his man. Very confident player, he's had a very good season. Mulligan going all the way through, laying it off here, and McGinley was coming in, and that has gone over the bar, and it's Enda McGinley. All going Tyrone's way. It's only his 3rd point in this year's championship. This is his very first season, but the spade work was done by Owen Mulligan, tormenting the backline of Kerry, and then there was a man coming up in support, and it was flicked over.
He absolutely skinned McCarthy that time, did Mulligan, but again, great support coming in from McGinley. Could easily have gone into the net.
Should have been 3 points. Referee just holding it up. Just wondering whether Peter Canavan is ready to come back just yet into the action. No. O'Keefe, good kick out, huge one. Stopped here by Kevin Hughes. Very forceful midfielder, what a good run this is. Oh, bad pass, it was intended for McGinley. Snapped up instead there by Tom Sullivan. But Kerry with a very uneasy look about the backs. The forwards haven't had a chance so far, haven't had the possession. Now Tomas O'Shea, angling it out here into the corner. Mike Frank, setting sail. Players calling for it. Gooch is one of them. Colin Cooper, still an under-21 player. And the first effort is by John Sheehan, the wing-back, coming way up there. And it's off target. Plays for Lown Rangers, of course, where they've had the Puck Fair recently.
Yeah, that was a wonderful bit of defending that time by both Conor Gormley and Brian Dooher, and putting pressure on Cooper before the ball was eventually put wide.
It's Brian Dooher who's down injured. He was back trying to run with John Sheehan, the man from Killorglin, where, as I mentioned, they had that very successful fair, but they'll be able to celebrate a great deal more if they emerge victorious from this particular tie. It looks like it's going to be a very tight one. And the bandage, Peter Canavan, is ready to come back and join the fray. John Bannon is the linesman on this near side. So the man they call Peter the Great is back in the action, and his substitute, Stephen O'Neill, is withdrawn. Already Paddy O'Shea has a very worried look about him. They had a hefty beating here in the semi-final a couple of years ago, 2 years ago against Meath, and of course lost last year's All-Ireland final. This is their 4th match of the campaign. It's Tyrone's 7th. Chance to get motoring here with Mike Frank Russell. Bad ball. Swung around that time was Gavin Devlin. Much attention will centre on his performance this afternoon. It's only his 2nd ever match in the championship. One at the very beginning of the campaign, and of course he's had the 3-month suspension ever since. Big gamble to bring him back in. Philip Jordan stumbling, running into difficulty. It's John Sheehan who's back there for Kerry. Now they need the influence of Eamon Fitzmaurice. Nicely across towards Colin Cooper. Quick look up at the post, but he's a long distance out, 65 metres. Liam Hassett. Oh, it's a no ball into space. Picked up there by Cavlin. 3rd time he's been on the ball. Easy one, however, for Seamus Moynihan, back there minding the house. but it's almost a one-man defensive action. The others look very unsure of themselves. Bad kick by Dara O'Kinney, who popped up at top of the right. That's a couple of wides now by Kerry. They look nervous and very anxious.
Yes, indeed, they're lacking composure, which is very, very strange for a Kerry team. And fair play to Tyrone, like they're forcing errors from the Kerry players, and that ravenous approach at the moment is really paying dividends.
Mickey Hart, first season in charge, of course. Can he take them to the final? Great catch by Jared Kaplan. He's winning everything there against Fitzmaurice. That little switch isn't working too well. That time, indeed, just to be fair, it was Tom Sullivan who put in the challenge. And Sullivan has been ticked by the referee for committing the foul. Was there a push? There was by Seamus Moynihan and Peter Canavan. Canavan certainly made the most of it anyway. The referee saw it head on, but Moynihan, I think, might have a different point of view if we were to question him afterwards. It means that there's an opportunity for Tyrone to go 4 points in front. Just over 10 minutes gone in this All-Ireland semi-final. 1 point from a free so far for Peter. Doesn't miss too many, but this is one that has gone left, and the breeze, I think, may have been a bit of a factor. It swirled down there and carried it to the left. What is the player who has saved Tyrone so often in the past? You remember in the match against Derry when they were 4 points down with just about 6 minutes or a little less maybe to go in that, and Tyrone came back and levelled it up and took it to a second game at Casement Park. That's a great catch by Jared Kaplan. He's winning everything. And Kerry are going to switch the direction of their kickouts and take it away from Kaplan, who's playing left half forward. Seamus Moynihan held, and Peter Canavan's down on the ground again. Once more he needs attention. Don't know what happened to him. The doctor, Seamus Cassidy's coming out. Lots of booing. Didn't see what happened.
Didn't think there was anything really untoward happened. There was a good collision between the two of them going for the ball, and Peter went down that time. Again, a 50-50 ball. Okay, Moynihan got out in front. Seemed to have maybe caught Canavan, but again, like before, nothing intentional that I can see.
Well, the gash was from the earlier injury that he sustained, and some Kerry fans here are trying to influence by saying he took a dive. Well, that's not absolutely certain by any manner of means, but it looked a 50-50 collision, and you certainly couldn't find Seamus Moynihan guilty of anything.
Yeah, and what's worrying actually, I think initially they're looking at his ankle rather than the injury to the head, and maybe he went over his ankle badly that time that he went down, Ger.
If that is the case, then this could be a very critical stage in the match. Watch it once again here, and just what, oh yes, you could see there, the minute the contact was made, it was his ankle. Well spotted.
Yes, that's very worrying, because the pitch is unforgiving. It's very, very hard underneath. He seems to have sustained quite a belt that time on the ankle. Again, it must be said completely accidental, and I wouldn't be surprised if he'll have to be substituted.
Well, his loss would be immense, unthinkable in many respects. At some stage or other in the future, they're going to have to play without him. He's now 32, be 33 later in the year, and it looks like his day at Croke Park is over.
Yeah, that's a crying shame, actually. You know, a lot of people come to see the matinee idols like the Moynihans and the Canavans, and it's a shame that that Canavan has got to go off, but I don't see him coming back on this time. That looks a pretty serious ankle injury.
They brought out the motorised vehicle to render assistance, but he decided he didn't need it, so the doctor and the team manager helping him off. It's a big, big loss. Fitzmaurice for a Kerry team yet to get going. Ryan McMenamin. They look assured. Kieran Gourley fouled in possession, so it'll be a free for Tyrone, around about 30 metres out from their own end line. No decent ball going in towards Declan O'Sullivan and company so far. Here's Ryan McMenamin, likely to pop up just about anywhere. Cormac McAnallen Many people wondered whether or not he would be able to make a fist of the full-back position. Wonderful midfielder and a player further out the field, Dewar here, will run his heart out. And look at the way Tyrone are just coming together as groups, challenging in packs, working as a unit. Dewar taking the free, are ready to do so.
Yes, indeed, and Kerry are losing their composure at the moment. A number of Kerry players are getting involved off the ball in little one-to-one duels, and that is not good for them.
Stephen O'Neill, by the way, just to confirm, has come on as a replacement now for Peter Canavan. That's a great ball in. Mulligan's there. Declan O'Keefe gets a vital fist to it and knocks it well away out towards Sean O'Sullivan, the wing forward, but way back around right half back at that stage. Darragh Kinneada, look at that, 4 players from Tyrone surrounding him, inviting him to hold on to it too long and waiting for a referee's whistle, which never came. And he's out over the sideline with the ball, the end sideline here, but the ball wasn't. Good work by John Bannon, the linesman. We've seen too many linesmen put up their flag, but that ball was still in play. That's Owen Brosnan trying to muscle his way through. It's like rugby, they're all over the place, chasing like a pack. Comes back to the free man, Enda McGinley. Darragh O'Shea trying to bring a bit of order to midfield, but they're just booting it anywhere. And it's Dewar who snatches it up. When have you seen anything like this?
Well, it's like a pack of ravenous dogs, the way they're getting around the Kerry players. Fantastic spirit, fantastic enthusiasm from Tyrone, really showing no respect whatsoever. And when have we seen a Kerry team in an Ireland final going 15 minutes without a score?
And there is the ankle injury of Peter Canavan being addressed now, the ankle being... well, there's ice being placed upon it. I'm just checking the yellow card, and it's John Sheehan who's got a yellow card. That's a second yellow card for a Kerry player. Both of them operating on the left-hand side of the back line. Brian Dewar into space. This is Stephen O'Neill. His big day, perhaps. Beautiful ball by McGinley inside here. Cameron is coming onto it. It's gone over. He got a goal against Fermanagh. The man who loves to tear ahead and join the inside forward line, and did so with telling effect there, and he makes it 4 points to no score. That's a goal and 9 points he scored in this year's championship. Young man from Moy.
Yes, again, Colin beforehand talked about his ability to get in and get scores. Ghosts in from nowhere, again a great score. And what's becoming apparent here, this could become nightmare in Croke part 3 for Kerry if they don't start getting scores fairly quickly.
That was the first score in 10 minutes of this semi-final. What is happening to Kerry? They may yet win this match, but there's an awful long way to go between now and 5 o'clock. But they have a battle on their hands. McGuigan freeing it outside towards Cavallan, having a tremendous contest. And some holding there. This time it's by Seamus Moynihan on the fresh man in, Stephen O'Neill. Seamus Moynihan will have been preparing himself for a battle against Canavan, but he's got a fresh opponent, and a very good one at that.
Yes, indeed. And again, what's worrying is that he is really the person to look to for inspiration, and if he appears to be unsettled, that can have a kind of a ripple effect through the rest of the team.
Owen Mulligan taking over the free-taking duties. Canavan have missed the last one, and Mulligan is bang on cue to point with tremendous accuracy. Every one of the full forward line that started the match has now scored. Canavan and Mulligan getting their points from frees. But in case you've just switched on late here, Peter Canavan is out of the semi-final with an ankle injury, and the latest concern is Brian McGuigan from Ardbow on the shores of Lough Neagh.
Yes, son of Franks, and again, to me, he's been the outstanding player for Tyrone this year. A wonderful prompter altogether. Brings the best out in Mulligan in the inside line. There's a great understanding with him. May not get a lot of scores, Ger, but by God, he can deliver ball and distribute better than anybody.
There is another Frank McGuigan, of course, in the Tyrone panel, and that is number 27 for Mickey Hart. Mickey Hart's son is also a sub. But whenever the name of Frank McGuigan Sr. is mentioned, it's that Ulster final 1984, Tyrone versus Armagh. He kicked 11 points. Well, he didn't, if I'm absolutely accurate. He kicked 5 with the right, 5 with the left, that's 10, and he fisted an 11th.
Yeah, that was an exceptional performance in any era, and again, I should say, every one of them from play.
Declan O'Keefe with this kick. Kerry trying to win some ball. Darragh O'Shea is beaten for it, fists it down. He's by his brother Tomas, taken by Brian McGuigan for a very Very alert-looking Tyrone team, but Stephen O'Neill that time fumble leaves Moynihan with a chance to try and play it to space, only to a Tyrone forward, and that's Owen Mulligan. Mulligan ready to take on his man, who is Mike McCarthy, the Kerry captain. At this stage, it must seem an awful long way from the All-Ireland final on the 28th of September for Kerry. McGuigan kicking, and he's put it over the bar. His second point. What a season he's having, Brian McGuigan. And the fans are cheering on their team. Yes, and Kerry have no response so far.
No, none indeed. And again, Tomas O'Shea is on him at the moment. Again, a lovely pass from Mulligan out to him. Great body strength to keep O'Shea at bay, and a wonderful score from the right wing.
Kerry have given Tyrone a 6-point lead. 20 minutes into the game, roughly. And this is really putting it up to the Munster champions, the great traditionalists. It's another Tyrone free kick.
I've rarely seen a team so enthusiastic and so tough in the way they're applying themselves. It's been fantastic so far for the first 20 minutes, and they're asking an awful lot of questions at Kerry, and so far there's no response. I
think a lot of the Kerry fans who've made the journey, exhorted by Paulie to do so, to come in numbers, and it's a huge journey from the Kingdom, are thinking back to that semi-final against Meath 2 years ago. Owen Mulligan, lovely dummy initially, but a great block down. That's very good work indeed, expertly done by Mike McCarthy, and McCarthy sticking to the task, the Kilcommon man, hoping that he lifts Sam at the end of the season and be presented with the trophy by another Kilcommon man, the GAA president, Sean Kelly. Has that ever happened before? There's Dara O'Kineda, breaking ball. Conor Gormley was stumbling, and it's gone off the Tyrone player, so a bit of a respite for Kerry. Meanwhile, it is Dara O'Kineda is down there, and Conor Gormley as well.
Yeah, one of the things actually that surprised me about Kerry so far, their handling is very poor, and their ability to go in and win the breaking ball is second in a big way to what Tyrone are doing. They're so good at driving in and breaking ball at the moment, but the Kerry first touch is surprisingly poor.
They look absolutely shell-shocked. They look dispirited. We wondered all about their defence going into this match, whether it would be able to withstand the decent ball that we expected Tyrone to fire in. There's all the talk about who was going to mark Canavan and Mulligan, and all the arguments and all the column inches. Can throw them into the waste paper bin right now, because the drama is happening down there.
Yeah, and the problem is further out as far as I can see, Gerard. The middle eight aren't working hard enough. They're not working with the same enthusiasm at all as Tyrone.
They come looking again for an opening score, Kerry, but beaten by Ryan McMenamin. Inside towards Kevin Hughes, the midfielder is funneled back. Again, they work as a unit, and it's Cormac McAnallen, former minor and under-21 All-Ireland winning captain. This is out towards Philip Jordan, and that's going to be a free. It's a push, and it is Brian Doer is about to take it. Very quickly delivered in, 2 men inside forward line, and there's a stumble there, and it's eventually Seamus Moynihan who gets the free kick, takes it himself. How they need a couple of scores just to settle them down. Otherwise, we're talking about a mismatch. Liam Hassett, Tyrone with 14 men at the moment, with a player down on the deck injured. Comes out to Kaplan, he misses it. Kevin Hughes, a chance to bend his back, very focused. And here comes Cormac McAnallen, wearing number 3, well away from the fringe of the square. Sean Kavanagh, emerging as one of the great stars of the 2003 championship. Inside for O'Neill, ready to take them all on. They're bouncing off him, and he's holding on to possession. Great strength and resilience been demonstrated by players down there. Finally, it's Doer. There's a little pushing of his own. Free kick to Kerry. That's John Sheehan there, the left half back. The crowd has gone a bit silent, waiting for a response from Kerry.
I think they're stunned.
Hassett. Doer with a little steal. Just controlling the pace of the attack now. Inside towards Sean Kavanagh. He's kicked one already. Here's another chance if he can get it on the left boot. He can. A couple of hops there. Might have taken one too many, but it's something that's gone unpenalised. But there is a free kick, but it's to Kerry. Eamon Fitzmaurice. going by McGuigan. Fitzmaurice feeding it ahead here. This is a bit more promising. Nicely inside, Tom Sullivan. Nicely out. Gooch, can he finally point for Kerry? He can, but it's taken 24 minutes and 10 seconds. Six points to 1. Kerry will suddenly feel, hang on, we've given them the opening 24 minutes of this match. Now it's our turn to play. Only 5 between them all of a sudden.
Yes, and interestingly enough, that's the first time Kerry have controlled their possession quite well coming forward. A good run and a good, diagonal ball and a good finish from Gooch.
And Kerry have, as we mentioned earlier on, several very useful subs to bring in. As we watch Mike Frank Russell back down towards Dara O'Kinade. Quick look up at the post, partial block on that. Just goes forward. Well collected, nicely taken there. Ryan McMenamin getting it away out towards Enda McGinley. He does a kind of a Tony McEntee of Armagh job by roaming way out the field. And Declan O'Sullivan, the one who commits the foul.
Yes, Declan hasn't got into the game at all yet, and again, there's always a danger with a young lad that the game can pass you by actually at this stage.
Dooher determined that it won't pass him by. Mind you, the pass just about past Philip Jordan by and caught by Pawdy. Fitzmaurice angling this one into space, a real hit and hope one. Ryan McMenamin mopping it up or attempting to do so, but Gooch is a tough character. Colin Cooper, who's a business studies student at Tralee IT, and you can see the shoulders coming in with determination. And the man nursing the injury right now is Mike Frank Russell. Doesn't look at his very best.
Yeah, the sheer intensity actually of the tackling. Just watch this belt here. Again, a very, very, very tough collision that time. I think it was the right half-back Conor Gormley came in on it. But again, the intensity of the collision there really is put him on his back. Ethan
worried there attending to him. And Pawdy in conclave there with the selectors, I'm sure wondering about possible changes. Free kick been awarded, and if this one can go over, just 4 points between them, which would be nothing whatsoever.
Yes, but again, they have got to up the work rate around the middle eighth of the field. Like, the midfield pairing have been out of it so far. Dara hasn't made any impact in the game. The half-forward line has been repeatedly beaten by the Tyrone half-back line. And again, as a consequence of that, the Kerry half-back line is under all kinds of pressure.
So just as there was a concern earlier on about Peter Canavan, who left the game, there's the challenge by Conor Gormley there on Mike Frank Russell. He's gone down under the weight of that challenge, which was a foul. And equally, Kerry wouldn't want to lose a player of Mike Frank's stature and class. Johnny Crowley would be the obvious one to come in to replace him, but still attending to him. If anything, this little gap in play is going to suit Kerry just to try and compose themselves. Tyrone can take a breather, but they've still only managed to amass a 5-point advantage.
That is true, Ger. If there was ever a thing called a timeout needed in Gaelic football, Kerry needed it, and they have got it, ironically enough, with that injury to Michael Frank, because they should be able to talk to one another, get each other going. And again, Johnny Crowley down on the sideline, I'd imagine will be in fairly soon for one of the inside forwards.
Again, you got to give him the ball. Dara O'Kinade will kick this one. Usually a very, very good free kicker, but that has gone all the way through to young John Devine, the 19-year-old goalkeeper. Out to Sean Canavan. It was badly caught by Dara O'Kinade. And it was Tomas O'Shea who was coming flying in there, and you could see Liam Hassett swinging around an opponent as well. And the referee stepping in fairly quickly just to make sure that everybody is playing by the rules. The last little throw there was on Conor Gormley. So a chance then for Ryan McMenamin to hit this free kick after Tomas O'Shea, by the way, had a ticking. And that ball is going to be thrown up.
That is correct. He can't take all day to actually take the free kick, and Jerry Knievy is absolutely right to throw it up.
He's very tight on these situations, free kicks taken from the wrong spot or delayed unnecessarily. Dara O'Shea, that is John Sheehan up there with the attack. O'Shea again, trying to link up with a colleague and nobody making the easy pass for him with a bit of movement into space. Brian McGuigan, who's got two very, very fine points so far in the match. It's got to be another free kick for Kerry. All of a sudden the intensity and the tempo of the Tyrone game has dropped. That's not unexpected, of course, but it's given Kerry a chance to get a couple of scores. Darrow Kinnaid missed the last one, hit it badly, and he's missed this one as well. Bounces off Ryan McMenamin. Conor Gourley was in there. They attempt to stop it and it's gone wide, and that becomes a kick out for Tyrone. Things are going nicely for them.
Yes, and Paddy will be disappointed with that. Darragh Kinnaid normally is very good from place kicks off the ground, but for whatever reason he's not getting his foot under them, and those two kicks were badly placed.
Now, he's done it before in Croke Park, so we can't necessarily blame the surface, although the grass is quite tight.
Yeah, we were down in it earlier, Ger, and actually it was very tight, but at the same time there's no excuse for missing those two types of trees, and Kerry need them badly at the moment.
John Devine playing in his 8th championship match. Dara O'Shea coming, that's a brilliant catch. Best bit of piece of high fielding in midfield we've seen so far in the game. Useful little spell now with 5 minutes to go to half time as Dara O'Shea kicks it, and he kicks it hopelessly to the right. Two missed frees by Dara Kinnaid and the other Dara O'Shea missing there, and that's 4 wides now. But this is O'Shea's catch earlier on. Great skill, but they can't turn the resultant possession into a score.
Yeah, and I'd question Dara at the moment. I just wonder, has that injury that he's had over the last number of weeks blunted his edge somewhat? He's not getting into the game to the same extent as we would have expected.
Kerry have made a switch in their forward line, and the number 14 and 11 have switched positions. So Declan O'Sullivan is now out on the 40 on Gavin Devlin, and Dara O'Kinnaid has gone into the fringe of the square. Would it make a difference? Dewar sending this one dangerously in towards O'Neill. Now McGuigan. And a little push there behind, and you can see that Mike McCarthy is protesting to the referees on a yellow card. Mike McCarthy along with John Sheehan, and Mulligan has done his little bit of work, and it results in a free in and a chance of another Tyrone score. There it is, the hand was into the back, and the little push, and Mulligan made sure that the referee saw him go down. And coming in is Mark O'Shea, a back of course, replaced in the first half of the Roscommon game. Stephen O'Neill has hit the free and he's put it over the bar, and so he extends Tyrone's lead, and as you were a little while back, there are 6 between them.
Yes, and credit Tyrone, they've actually kind of negated the strong points in the Kerry team. They have actually put a lot of pressure on Seamus Moynihan at fullback, as well as that Dara O'Shea is struggling because of the constant pressure that's been put on him. And again, a lot of the quality is coming from that.
That was Tyrone's first score there in 14 minutes as John Sheehan comes off, Mark O'Shea comes on. It's a reverse of the switch that was made against Roscommon 3 weeks ago. Well, will that plug gaps? Cavanagh chasing after this one like a JCB. Tomas O'Shea up towards Declan O'Sullivan. The man who's challenging for possession there is Gavin Devlin. Comes back here towards Liam Hassett. Little block on it again. Tyrone's work rate is immense. Jared Cavallan into space, a stumble by Mulligan. Easily taken in, however, by Mike McCarthy. Eamon Fitzmaurice continuing to operate at right half back, and Gooch just loses out as Tyrone come forward once again with Enda McGinley between goalkeeper and incoming forward, and the cornerback and captain Mike McCarthy did well to restrain Owen Mulligan fairly that time. Back out towards Tom Sullivan. Tomas O'Shea. Well, Kerry just playing it around at the back there, holding possession, but really going nowhere. And you wonder about their game plan. Well, it was to result in a broken ball like that from Philip Jordan to set something of a mistake by Tyrone, gives Kerry an opportunity to come in for a score, but it's very much to the right, and it's gone wide. It was Cooper who hit it, and it was Mike Frank Russell who was endeavouring to keep it in play.
Yes, and just going back to your game plan, actually, Gerard, both Darren O'Shea and Owen Brosnan are playing very, very far back into their half-back line at the moment. And again, the movement in the forward line isn't what we expect of Kerry. They're not simply making enough runs, and Tyrone are managing to get bodies back there to prevent any quality being given through to them.
Well, there's going to be 8 minutes of added time to be played at the end of the first 35 minutes. So we got about another 9 minutes of action because of those hold-ups, in particular to Peter Canavan, who was down twice, you may remember. And there was another injury as well to Mike Frank Russell. So a chance for Kerry to tag on a couple of scores. 1 point, a miserable return. A horrible performance by the Munster champions, being well and truly beaten. But they've still got lots of time as Hassett takes it forward. Released inside towards Mike Frank, into the corner to Gooch. Where will he turn it to? Right back onto the 45-metre line. Again, they emerge with possession and look for something here. Little block once again. Great Tyrone work. Everybody funneling back, never giving up the ghost. And even there, when we saw that final shot on the target by the number 2, Tom O'Sullivan, that little vital block was so essential to take the steam out of it. Yes, it never caused much of a threat.
Yeah, and the blanket defence is suffocating everything that Kerry are throwing at them. And Kerry, to be fair, are going laterally too much. There's not enough quick ball coming in directly. They're tending to go across field.
One back here again by Tom O'Sullivan. And that is another awful kick. Owen Brosnan this time from the middle of the field. Nothing is going right for Kerry.
They're so disjointed, Jerry. It's unbelievable. It's one thing we didn't expect from a Kerry team coming up here today, that they would go through 36 minutes of football scoring 1 point and appear so disjointed in their attacking.
Well, we've seen them in the last couple of seasons promise and threaten an awful lot, and without delivering necessarily. So it shouldn't come as a complete and total shock. It's a Kerry free kick. And this time it's Mike Frank Russell who comes out to take it.
Yes, this year was to be atonement year, you know, 2003 and all that, the centenary of the first All-Ireland. But they're all over the place.
Well, there's not a great deal of atoning done right now, but Declan O'Sullivan is a young player with a very bright future, but right now part of a team struggling big time. This time the ball had gone out over the sideline. It's part of the best efforts of Sean O'Sullivan. Line ball to Tyrone. We've seen the two sides of Tyrone in a way also, I think. When they're attacking, they attack in waves, and they really make it impossibly difficult for the backs to concentrate. There are just so many bodies going forward, and then, as you say, their ability to swarm backwards and just perform as a unit and just close up everything the opposition can throw at them.
Yes, that's true, but look at the handling there again. Look at the crispness of the Tyrone tackling.
And this will be a point, surely. It's McGuigan going through, might even go in for a goal. He's got himself a free kick. It will be a point, but it came from sloppy handling. And we're now 2.5 minutes of the 8 into injury time or stoppage time. And Sean O'Sullivan is leaving the Kerry team, and it's going to be a yellow card first of all for Eamon Fitzmaurice. That's 3 of the backs now have had yellow cards, and the other 3, their names have been taken by the referee or numbers, so they're on ticks. Horrible day for Kerry overall as Mulligan kicks and points. Second point is free for Owen Mulligan. They have half the job done. They must be aware of that now. Did they believe they'd be in this situation approaching half-time, leading by 8 points to 1? Have they got the resolve now to stay on there? We're reminded, of course, about 1986. And those of us who were here that day remember how into the second half they had a very handsome lead against Kerry, and they ended up, I think, losing by 7 or 8. It was a turnaround of 15 points. Anything can happen. But it's happening right now for Jared Cavlin and his team. Nice ball down. Who's marking McGuigan? Nothing really happening. Once again, it is Stephen O'Neill. Good ball in. Decent possession for McGinley, back in towards O'Neill, and he's hauled down, and it's going to be another free kick. Tomas O'Shea and his colleagues in bits. Tomas O'Shea is one of those to have his number noted earlier on, so it has to be another card here. And that's confirmation of the last change.
Yes, for those of us who grew up admiring Kerry, this is quite unbelievable to see them playing with so little composure, so little confidence and so little ability at this stage of an All-Ireland series.
Pressure is now on the management. Owen Mulligan with a third point from a free. And he's got 3 frees, 3 points, and he makes it 9 points to 1. At this stage, I don't think the bookies would even entertain a bet against Tyrone to reach this year's All-Ireland final. 35 minutes of action still to go in the second half. And about another 4 minutes of additional time here. An amazing first half. Declan O'Sullivan picking it up. How a goal for Kerry might change things around. O'Sullivan again, trying to engineer something. That's a very bad pass. Hits straight at Ryan McMenamin. Tyrone have players covering space. They almost appear to have 17 on the field. Kerry disjointed, not functioning proper as a unit. The heads have dropped a long time ago as McGuigan belts it in here towards Mulligan, taking on everybody and anybody and kicking to the left. Well, it was a lovely move, but a horrible finish.
Yeah, wonderful passing from McGuigan. He makes himself available all the time, taking up the spaces where the ball is about to be delivered. But then the quality of the diagonal ball is just a joy to behold.
It's only Tyrone's second wide in the half, a half which is now 40 minutes old. And that just about tells it all, doesn't it? Sheer frustration, having made the long journey, and the team isn't just underperforming, it's not performing.
I think a sheer disbelief actually by a lot of the Kerry followers.
I think it's that question I asked you before the ball was thrown in. How relevant is tradition? In the great game nowadays, it doesn't matter of whit. If you're well prepared and if you're going to go in there with good quality players, you've got a real chance. And that's what Tyrone are showing us. Decent looking attack by Kerry. Can it produce a second point? The umpires had a little thought about it. They put it over, and it is Mark O'Shea who's got it, having come on as a substitute just about 10 minutes ago. And it's 9 points to 2, only 7 between them. It's to Kerry's credit that they are just 7 points behind.
That's a great strike from Mark O'Shea. Again, something that they need badly coming into half-time. And talking at half-time, it'll be very interesting to be in there listening to Paddy trying to get his troops going.
No, this is family entertainment. We don't want to even put a microphone next to near that door. Tyrone scoring chances from the first half, 41 minutes, 42 minutes of the half so far. 14 scoring chances against 9 for Kerry. 9 scores to 2. Johnny Crowley reaching up for this one. Can he make a difference inside to Gooch? And he normally kicks with such style and accuracy, but the cheers you're hearing are from the Ulster supporters of Tyrone.
And when you think about it, Jared, they've missed 3 frees, they've missed 1 or 2 opportunities like that. Could have them right back in the game had they taken it, even though they have been completely outclassed in the first half.
Paddy will not give up, the selectors will not give up, but they've got to get the message through now to the 15 players and the couple of subs they plan to bring on yet. And it's a Tyrone team, remember, without Peter Canavan. And it's been Tyrone's first half. They were magnificent. They performed. They came with a good reputation as an attacking squad. But every one of them grouped together and just threw Kerry out of kilter. And Kerry have been anything but the great power we know they can be. But there's a second half to come here, and the big question, can Kerry come back? Will Tyrone maintain their lead? It's 7 points at this stage at half-time in the Bank of Ireland All-Ireland football semi-final. At Croke Park, it's Tyrone 9 points, Kerry 2. And I'm sure Tyrone are very, very happy indeed with the way things have gone during the first half. Let's join Marty Morrissey.
Father Gerard McAleer, one of the Tyrone selectors. That is a very impressive opening half by Tyrone.
Well, we set out to be ahead at half-time, and we are ahead, and we're very, very pleased about that. But look, we're only halfway there. There's 35 minutes to go, and it's going to take the exact same effort. Do you think that Kerry are going to come out and lie down in the second half? Certainly not, but we're ready for them.
I visited both dressing rooms before the game, and I felt Tyrone were very relaxed, in particular, very focused.
We're both relaxed and focused, and we're particularly pleased to be this far ahead, but still only halfway there.
What's the story about Peter Canavan?
He looks to have a very bad ankle injury. He seems to have gone over on it, but what the chances are to come in the second half, I'm not too sure yet. We'll wait the advice of the medical team.
But you must be very, very pleased at half-time.
We're pleased to be ahead at all, particularly pleased to be that far ahead, yeah.
Father Gerard, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Father Gerard McAleer there with the words of wisdom. Let's be cautious about it. They may need Canavan, they may not at half-time. 7 between them. Analysis coming up after this.
Half of football in this All-Ireland semi-final between Tyrone and Kerry. A very long first half as well, it has to be said. Look at the stats then from the first half of this year's first All-Ireland semi-final. Just confirmation of the score then. Well, Tyrone certainly have lorded in the first half, haven't they? 9 points to Kerry's just 2 points. Did we expect that we'd see Kerry score just 2 points in some 40 minutes plus of football? 17 frees each, Kerry with a few more wides than Tyrone, and I think it's an indication of the pressure that Kerry have been under, and particularly their defence. 4 yellow cards against Kerry defenders. Michael McCarthy, the captain, has been booked. Also Shea, Eamon Fitzmaurice, of course John Sheehan, who's gone off, was also yellow carded during that first half. Colin O'Rourke and Joe Brawley here with me in studio. Joe, you're going to be saying nice things about Tyrone football the way things are going.
I thought it had been, really, sort of relatively speaking. Well, I mean, Sean Kavanagh caught the throw-in, and then Tyrone caught the first 5 kickouts. The first 5 kickouts, they actually caught them.
Yeah.
And what I was saying beforehand was that one of Kerry's big problems is they play a conventional 6-man against 6 defence. Can't do that anymore. What Tyrone are doing is pure Armagh. We have a brilliant overview of it from up here. Tyrone have 13 men back behind the ball, 2 men up front, and it's not so much the defence, although they're being very tigerish and all of that, it's the defensive system. One stage Colin was actually laughing because there were about 7 or 8 Tyrone men around one Kerry man, and Kerry men were sort of coming running in to try and pull them back like rugby. And this is the problem that Kerry have, the defensive system, which is just like Armagh's. Kerry are now reduced to fisting the ball up and down the sidelines, going nowhere in particular, not able to penetrate because of the sheer weight of numbers. Meanwhile, Kerry are allowing 2 forwards to come up against 2 defenders. Yeah. And it's just not working. Tyrone are just attacking on the break, breaking up, helping the 2 forwards who are laying the ball off to them, winning frees, kicking points, and there doesn't look to be any end in sight at this stage, does there?
Well, some of this defending by Tyrone and the tackling has been tigerish, and they seem to have twice the population on the field that Kerry have.
Yeah, well, that's because they've got everyone back.
Yeah, it's very good tackling. You'd often wonder too, the referee gave a few funny decisions early on. To me, they all seem to favour Tyrone. And a couple of the bookings, like particularly the booking of Michael McCarthy, was a total joke where Canavan ran into him.
Yeah, well, that was just a mistake.
Yeah, in this particular case, Kerry can't go anywhere. Eventually they win the ball back. And the thing about Tyrone, when they win the ball back, they speed forward very, very quickly, and they've used diagonal ball very, very well. Kerry, by contrast, you think Kerry didn't know what Tyrone were going to do. Like, everybody should have known what Tyrone. And Kerry must now attack with these extra men. They must push up because they've no option. Yeah. And it's a real test of the manhood of the Kerry team. Like, your fellas like Darrow O'Kineda funked it there the first half. Like, he didn't want to know about it. And in a day like this, when the chips are high, well then, it's either sink or swim, and if you're a man, you'll stand up and be counted. If you're not, you'll lie down.
We have seen only one example, to my mind anyway, of Kerry sort of on the move, at pace, bringing the ball out of defence and scoring at good points. This was Colin Cooper's point. But so little of this from Kerry that we expect so much of.
I mean, I don't really agree with Colin about the point that he's making, because I think that the problem that Kerry have, sure, they look as if they've been hit for 6. There's definitely a management failure, because everyone knows how Tyrone are going to play here today. They were going to have 13 men behind the ball. Kerry were going to have to move the ball very quickly. They were going to have to work out a system that involved dealing with that style of play that Tyrone has, and they simply haven't done it. I mean, Paddy O'Shea has sent his team out as though they were playing the first round of the Munster Championship against Tipperary, and they don't seem to know what's happening or how to deal with it. Now, you can take it from me, having played against the Armagh defensive system, it's the same as us. It's very difficult to play.
That's the only way that
got to carry it forward.
You have to carry it forward. And Cooper has been guilty of a couple of very bad wides. Like, Kerry have had quite a bit of possession near the end of the half and haven't used it very well. But, the thing about now these couple of extra defenders that Kerry have, there's no point in staying back now. They must push forward through the middle like that and try and draw out defenders. They can't kick the ball in because the Kerry forwards are outnumbered by about 6-2 inside.
And they're happy with the ball going down into the corner. I mean, Cooper's allowed to get it out in the sideline. classic Armagh, absolutely, as if Mickey Hart had sat down and watched videos of Armagh and said, that's what you do. That's why Armagh beat us last year. Perfectly legitimate thing to do. And now you see Tyrone a completely different team from last year because they're working to a system. Everyone knows what they're doing. And, you know, it's much easier. I mean, I think it's very difficult. You know, the point that Colin's making is all right, but it's very difficult for lads to get into the game if they can't because of the way the game's developing. I mean, high ball being kicked into Cooper, high ball being kicked into Russell in the corner, even if they do win it, 3 Tyrone men around them, knocking them and hitting them. And of course now Tyrone, with the success that they've garnered in the first 5-10 minutes, are getting stuck into it as if their life depends on it. And I mean, I think Kerry are on a beaten docket at this stage.
All right, gentlemen, we must take a commercial break. We'll continue the discussion perhaps after that. Join us again for the second half of this All-Ireland semi-final. Semi-final, Tyrone leading Kerry by 9 points to 2. If they can keep up even half the effort they made in the first half, surely they'll be on their way to the All-Ireland final. That remains to be seen. One thing we were talking about here actually with the panel is that Peter Canavan went off early in that game. Another team, to lose a player of that stature, would have really crippled them. It's actually made no difference.
None whatsoever.
Well, I don't know. I think since Canavan went off, there's less shape to that full forward line inside, because I don't think Stephen O'Neill is obviously nearly as good as Peter Canavan. Like, Peter got injured the first time running to Mick McCarthy and gets cut. And one thing about Kerry or Tyrone, they never use an inch of bandage if a mile could do. You know, he comes back around as if he'd come home from Iraq, and then he goes over in an ankle. Now, I think he's an unsettling effect. Obviously, when things are going well for Tyrone, you don't miss Peter Canavan. But if Kerry could come back and sneak a bit closer, and particularly if they could get a goal, because they'll need a goal to win this game or to get back into it. But for me, the question the second half, we saw how Tyrone can play, they're a very good team. It's a question of the manhood of Kerry now for me at this stage. The Kerry are normally in front and playing lovely football. They never really had their back to the wall in the second half. Now we'll see what they're made of as men.
They could actually have been further behind because it was a great goal chance for Tyrone. Speaking of Peter Canavan, by the way, I gathered that he's actually going to lead out the Tyrone team out from the dressing room, not sort of back onto the field.
It was it's an awful tragedy for Peter because, you know, he's spent so long, you know, I mean, since 1996 he's really been in the lower league, and now when he's got a chance to shine in the big stage. I mean, Colin's right, obviously, that he has some effect, but the difference, I think, between this Tyrone team and the Tyrone team 7 or 8 years ago is if Peter had gone off 7 or 8 years ago, that was the end of the match. Now, he's a link man. Of course, he's still their best player and he's still the best forward that they have. But he's only one player. He's one part of a good functioning team, you know. And to that extent, I mean, we hadn't really noticed at half-time that he was off when we were discussing this earlier before the break.
Yeah, but Tyrone, like, when he was on the pitch, you know, he was involved in setting up the first goal chance there. Like, Tyrone should have put this game away totally in the first 10 minutes. Like, they were devastating. And as the half wore on, Kerry have got more and more back.
This is that goal chance we were talking about.
In terms of possession.
Well, if it had been anybody other than young McGinley, I think it would have been a goal because he's still fighting his feet at this level. But symptomatic of the fact that Tyrone are able to just walk through them, and they've all got good vision. They're just good footballers, and I mean they're irresistible. I mean this system of breaking forward late to support the two full forwards works terrifically well, and it's just very hard to defend against.
And we talked about Kavanagh there again. You know, these runs from midfield. You know, there he was. You know, he was a bit unfortunate that didn't end up in the net, and there was a couple of others too. So, like, in terms of goal chances, Kerry never looked like getting a goal. Tyrone looked like scoring, you know, frequently in the first 10 minutes. It must be the other way around now. Kerry can't get back into this game really without a goal.
Well, I think that must be right. I mean, and Kerry's big problem is they don't have a target man a la Bomber Listen as they used to have, so they've got to play the other way, which is their half-backs have got to attack, come forward and show great composure and moving the ball around until there's a free man.
Okay, gentlemen, apparently Mike Frank Russell has gone off the Kerry team. Seamus Scandon has come on. I gather there he is indeed. That's our cue to go back again to Martin Carney and Ger Canny.
Thank you, Michael. We're just trying to see how they are going to reshape for the second half. And Seamus Moynihan and Eamon Fitzmaurice have switched positions. So Moynihan is now out at centre-half back on... who's on? Yeah, he's on Brian McGuigan. And as you say, Seamus Scandal is in for Mike Frank Russell, which means that Kerry have now used up 3 of their 5 possible switches or changes. So it's come down to this. 35 minutes to reach the All-Ireland final. Straight away Johnny Crowley using a bit of muscle there up against Kieran Gourley. Trying to worm his way through, showing he's not going to be knocked around the place easily. And it's a free kick on the 20-metre line. And a chance now to put 6 between them.
That's a very encouraging start from Crowley, even though he's getting involved in a little bit of afters, but he certainly put down a marker to Gourley that time that he's not going to be pushed around in this half.
Tony Crowley, who is a Garda Síochána in Mayfield in Cork. And Kieran Gourley, for his troubles there, got a ticking from the referee. Any more of that, and he gets a card, and it's kicked over the bar there by Dara O'Kineda, and it's his first point of the match, coming from a free in the first minute of the second half. Owen Brosnan has switched into centre-half forward on Gavin Devlin in the rearranged formation for Kerry. Seamus Scandal and Darragh O'Shea in midfield, and all of a sudden Kerry taking, as we expect, something of a grip in the early stages of the half, trying to put down some markers, get some possession and get some scores. But they battle away at the back there. Tyrone and Cormac McAnallen trying to bend his back to gain possession. It's going to be a throw ball by the referee, Jerry Kennevy from County Roscommon.
Already there's a harder edge to Kerry, a little bit more steel than we saw in the first half on the evidence of the first couple of incidents.
Paddy O'Shea, I'm sure, had an awful lot to say to his charges at half-time. Strong words, I'm certain, were spoken. Liam Hassett picking himself up here. And the throw in there will involve Owen Brosnan and also Cormac McAnallen. Darragh O'Shea is the one who in fact gets possession. And an opportunity all of a sudden here. Brosnan's shot blocked down well by Kieran Gourley. Gourley is injured doing that. Out as far as Brian Doer for Tyrone. The Ulster champions leading by 9 points to 3. Early stages of the second half. After, from a competitive point of view, a pretty forgettable first half of the match. As Tyrone, as you know, in that opening 30, whatever it was, number of minutes, overwhelmed the kingdom. And all of that without the injured Peter Canavan. And it's going to be a throw ball, 45 metres out from the Kerry goal. Then Darragh O'Shea trying to claim it. He was fouled, however, and it's going to be a free, which is quickly taken, but only as far as Kevin Hughes of Tyrone, up towards Owen Mulligan. Mulligan has it, holds on well, tries to make an angle. Now it's the turn of Kerry to funnel men back, but they get it into the free man. McGuigan inside once again towards Hughes. Back again towards McGuigan, coming through with some power. McGinley, oh, what a shot by McGinley. And he screws it off the right boot. It was a glorious chance. There was the prospect of a goal just a moment to go here. Credit Kerry for getting the men back. Moynihan missed the clearance there, the tackle rather, on Kevin Hughes, but when it fell to Enda McGinley, it was an awful, horrible finish. Yeah, and a lovely involvement twice that time by McGuigan. Very, very quick hands to set up the move. It should have been finished. McGuigan is a really, really good link man. Has shown himself time and again in this championship. Stephen O'Neill, and there we saw the substitute Mark O'Shea and Brian Doer. And the referee doing a little bit of note-taking. I think numbers have been recorded once again. So it all ends up with a kick-out eventually. The referee is still doing his note-taking, still recording the involvement of certain players in the last piece of play. Up there we've got Tom Sullivan from Rathmore, same club as Declan O'Keefe. And there as well, the man you're watching is Stephen O'Neill. And that's a yellow card per player, I think, which means that Tom O'Sullivan now becomes the fifth member of the back line that started for Kerry to have a yellow card. The only player not to have a yellow card among the outfield players, Seamus Moynihan, Footballer of the Year back in 2000. There was a push by Kevin Hughes, free kick to Kerry from the middle of the field. Protest by Hughes, so it's brought forward, not quite 13 metres, but enough for Kerry to take it. Darragh O'Shea inside there, missed by Darragh O'Kineda. It's Cormac McAnallen instead. Outside here towards Kieran Gourley, goes to ground there under the weight of the challenge from Darragh O'Kineda. Yes, that time McAnallen was very assured under the high ball. And Tyrone now just wanting to weather the storm and go maybe 10 minutes, maintain their lead against Kerry and come with a finish of their own. Brian McGuigan, huge one in. Stephen O'Neill drops it down, and that's enough for Mike McCarthy to get on to. Scanlon, first involvement since coming in as a half-time substitute. And Fitzmaurice wanted to take the free kick. The man from Finoog up there in North Kerry. Declan O'Sullivan now, very, very deep. Started at full forward. Seamus Moynihan out around the half-back line at this stage. by comparison with the way the team was originally selected and the changes they've had to make, Kerry have been forced into very, very fundamental alterations. And again, the referee is going to award against Seamus Moynihan here and throw the ball up. The free kick not taken quickly enough. Seamus was moving a yard or two forward, not very much, it has to be said. And it was frustration from Moynihan because the other Kerry players simply weren't moving into space.
That's exactly it. And again, with Gary Knievy this year, that's one of his trademark calls that he makes, is if a player oversteps the mark from where the free will be taken, he will call for a throw-up between the two teams.
One back here by Sean Kavanagh. Still holding on for dear life underneath all that. And the referee in the end says you held on far too long. Not sure what he could have done with it there. It was Enda McGinley last man up. Johnny Crowley lets it bounce. Takes it well. Looks for support. Dara O'Shea is available. Ready to take on Kevin Hughes. Beats him with ease. Striking it to the left of the keeper, John Devine, decides to restart. He could have left this one go out. Didn't do so, and now could experience some difficulty as Hassett fires it back in to Gooch. Comes back into the middle, inside towards Brosnan. But once again, the great resolution and determination of Tyrone is evident, and Jared Cavallan back there fouled. From the very beginning, they've had a winning look about them, but they have an awful lot of work to do. Only 6 points in it.
And once again, that six-man blanket is around the player with the ball. Great bit of defending by Cavallan in particular.
Free kick will have to be retaken because the referee decides to stop the match, and there's concern about the, well, I thought it was concern about the ankle rather than the boot laces of Dara O'Shea.
He seemed to go over actually on the ankle in the last occasion that he was in possession of the ball, but maybe it's just that the boot came off, but he looked to me to be hobbling after the last his last involvement.
They need a big performance from him. Cormac McAnallen then linking up with goalkeeper John Devine. Hit in towards McGinley. Seamus Scanlon finding Johnny Crowley, the one man who can take on this Tyrone defence. It's close, but not quite close enough, and he was well aware of it from the time it left his boot. Well, he's always a man who can come in and get a score or two for the county when they're in most need. This was Seamus Scanlon feeding it across towards the man from Glen Flesk, which is a few miles outside Killarney. And that wasn't quite a few miles away, but a couple of inches. There is Owen Brosnan. Broken down by Dara O'Kineda. Hasn't really been in the match. But it's been difficult against the tenacity of Brian Doer and company.
The game is perfectly set up for Tyrone at the moment. They have this 6-point lead. They're well capable of actually using that cushion and play very, very defensively and hold on to that.
Another delay. You'll remember that at the end of the first half, the referee signalled there would be an additional 8 minutes. Living on their nerves.
And there's very much a stop-start kind of trend to the second half so far. It's punctuated by too many frees and an awful lot of overcrowding and an awful lot of maybe, heavy hitting, but very little open football.
As a contest, it's been poor. Very poor.
Well, at the same time, Jared has been riveting stuff in many respects. There's been a huge intensity to it, but the fact that it's so one-sided on the scoreline has probably taken from it somewhat.
What can the managers do at this stage? We're 10 minutes into the second half. Tyrone yet to score in the half. Kerry have tagged on 1 point. Here's Kevin Hughes, very deep. Cormac McAnallen, a very athletic figure coming from the rear. Ahead by Conor Gormley. Into space, and it's Ryan McMenamin. A real terrier. Gooch is after him. He's his man. McMenamin coming up from cornerback to kick with accuracy and put it over. He's providing the leadership, the little number 4. Playing in his 17th championship match, a very fast and effective player. And that is just his 2nd point in this year's championship. He scored against Down earlier on. in one of the Ulster final matches. Another free kick.
Must be said too, Ger, the Tyrone are working so hard by comparison with Kerry. In terms of the tackling, there's a greater intensity to it. When they get possession, there's much more support for the guy with the ball. And again, they're getting players forward much more than Kerry. Kerry, there's so many players static today.
O'Kennedy's kick towards Johnny Crowley. Again, he takes up a good position, but quite unable to link up with Colm Cooper. And Enda McGinley, the free man from the full forward line. A couple of teams now at this level of the game employing just two men in the inside line and leaving another guy free. It's not a new tactic, but the way in which they're employing it is certainly fascinating. Kaplan seized on well there by Eamon Fitzmaurice. Seamus Moynihan, lovely style, but needs to get his team going. Tomas O'Shea coming into the action. O'Shea chased by Sean Kavanagh. Getting support there. Gooch had started the run back. Firing it in, and he's fired it wide. No joy for Colm Cooper. 1 point at the very first of the match for Kerry, and that came after 24 minutes.
Well, certainly that bit of play had a bit of conviction about it, but again, the end result was very disappointing.
He's had 4 kicks for goal this afternoon, Colm Cooper. Made just 1. Hughes against Scanlon. All the breaking ball being won by Tyrone. They're so good at scrapping. Kerry like to play it elegantly, but for the rest of this match they need to roll the sleeves up insofar as they can and muck in if they're to have any chance at all of rescuing this. Kaplan nicely ahead for Philip Jordan, one of the outstanding left half backs in the game this year, and he is knocked over, and it's Declan O'Sullivan who tracked back after him. So the foul recorded, and he gets his number noted in the book. And
yeah, again, I think Declan O'Sullivan trips them up. But it must be said, Tyrone are very comfortable with the style of play that they're actually imposing in Kerry at the moment, whereas Kerry are having to think a new plan B, and they're not able to find it actually. Their normal kind of poetic style isn't there today.
Not the greatest of frees by Owen Mulligan. And back there is Dara O'Shea. Chance to restart, going by Mulligan. Doer's in there to tackle as well. Kerry just about holding possession. Tomas O'Shea way back there, up towards Colm Cooper against Ryan McMenamin. Cormac McAnallen, the man about whom they wondered whether he could make a really good job of the full-back position. He's certainly been answering so far in the affirmative as Fitzmaurice starts again. Dara O'Shea, usually a very good passer of the ball, outside to Moynihan. Seamus Scanlon coming into the equation, down towards Johnny Crowley. Again, given a little bit of latitude by Kieran Gourlier. I think he's a little bit tentative in his approach where Crowley's concerned. Colm Cooper, 2 men on him. Gavin Devlin is one of them. Here's Seamus Moynihan way up there. Kerry needs scores. Here's a chance of a goal as O'Sullivan's on, and he's cracked it over the bar. Should have gone for a goal. They needed it. It's his first point.
Oh yes, and Dara Major was hovering with intent to the left of them that time. Should have been given the ball.
10-4. The Kerry fans finding their voice now, and a chance to cheer, a chance to encourage the build-up here involving Hassett. The pass laid across to Declan O'Sullivan, taking on the man there, but he put it over when he needed to put it under.
And this is significant in a way, Gerard, at that time Seamus Moynihan was up on the attack to actually initiate that, that particular move.
As we've said before, they need a big showing now from Moynihan, from Dara O'Shea, to give the leadership. Tyrone very confidently hanging on to their 6-point lead, their full value for it. McGinley drops it. Now have they the self-reliance and the confidence in their own ability as a team to stay the course? McMenamin out towards Gavin Devlin. Here's Philip Jordan. Again, just elegantly playing it around, looking for the correct pass, going long. And then chasing after it was Stephen O'Neill. Breaks for Brian McGuigan. McGuigan taking on Liam Hassett. Run back by Seamus Moynihan. Back to Hassett it comes. 16 minutes into the second half. Another quarter of the game remaining. Referee having the words there with Stephen O'Neill. Well, if he was, that's interesting because he's already given him a yellow card. Now, did the referee intend to book him? That would have been a red. Maybe he just decided it didn't merit a sending off. Away come Kerry once again. Fed inside here. Kerry looking determined at this stage, suddenly finding a bit of form and confidence. Colin Cooper finding a gap, finding support. O'Sullivan letting it run ahead. Fumbled there by Mark O'Shea, but regained and kicked in the end by Colin Cooper. He's claiming he should be getting a 45 for that. The umpire has waved it wide. The referee is checking with the Kerry player.
Yes, I think what that's about actually, when the ball was down in the other half of the field, Dara, I think, ran into Enda McGinley, and I think it's Dara O'Shea got the yellow card.
It is indeed. Dara O'Kinnaid has been taken off the Kerry team, replaced by Declan Quill. Dara O'Shea's yellow card means that a total of 5 of them are now on yellows. In fact, just take another little check, it is 6 yellow cards. It's a huge tally. 4 subs have now been used by Kerry. They've yet to bring in Eildon McGarrett. Seamus Scanlon wrestled to the ground. Kerry want to take the free kick quickly. Liam Hassett. 4 points in this match for Kerry. A miserable return in an All-Ireland semi-final, but it's happened before to them 2 years ago against Meath. Runs on for Cormac McAnallen. He's got support outside, and that's going to be a free kick. Philip Jordan, the man who was up in support of the player in possession. And that is the 50th free awarded by referee Jerry Kenevi in the match. A massive tally, tells its own story, and it underlines the indiscipline that has been running through the contest. 6 between them still. Another yellow card, and this one I think is to Enda McGinley. It is, and that is the second yellow card for a Tyrone player. The other one was Stephen O'Neill. Cavlin hitting it into space, bad ball. Always going to favour the midfield player Seamus Scanlon. Could have given it to another sub, Mark O'Shea. To Moynihan instead. Still about 17 minutes of the match remaining, plus stoppage time. Kerry with it all to do. Beyond Quill this time, he stumbles. McAnallen, good ball forward. Nice play there by Kieran Gourley towards Mulligan. Ready to challenge, ready to torment the Kerry captain, Mike McCarthy. Holding it up, bringing another player into it. Then a wayward kick, and it's picked up there by Liam Hassett, who's fouled. Free kick to Kerry. Dara O'Shea wants to take it quickly. Kerry now needing a goal, you feel, at this stage of the match, just to try and bridge the gap. And he has got a frontal charge there. The referee decides on Stephen O'Neill. He'll dispute that one, I think, and it's going to be a free kick to Tyrone.
Yep. Shimy's problem that time going forward with the ball is that nobody is up in front of him. All the Kerry players have sucked back into their own half of the field, and there's nobody to give an outlet to.
This is it again here.
Yes, he charges into him. McGuigan held his ground, and definitely the referee gave the right call.
At this stage of the match, Martin, Tyrone have the resolve. Mickey's team have the resolve. They've got the determination. Have Kerry got the belief that they can still snatch it?
Well, I think Kerry can still snatch it, but they're going to need a goal, and that goal has to come very quickly. But they haven't been able to really disrupt the control that Tyrone have exercised in the game throughout.
That's a bad free kick by Mulligan, but by Stephen O'Neill, but it might come good just yet. Kept alive inside towards Doer, and he's dispossessed well on the 20-metre line. Seamus Scanlon getting it away to Seamus Moynihan. Back out here towards Liam Hassett. Tyrone with only 1 point, remember, in the second half so far. 20 and a half minutes gone. All the good work has been done in the opening 35 minutes from their point of view. Brian McGuigan hitting it into space. Kerry just almost freezing, but the attack continues into McGinley in on the end line, taking them all on. McGinley into space, and It's stopped on the line, taken off the line brilliantly after Owen Mulligan went in to reach for that. And we'll just have to do a double check to make sure we've got the right player in the right position there. I think it could have been Declan O'Sullivan. Way back. Whoever it was saved Kerry, because had that gone in there, I think the match as a contest was over. It was indeed Declan O'Sullivan. What a place to pop up right on your own goal line.
That was a wonderful piece of defending by Declan Sullivan, who's playing out of centre half forward at the moment. Just watch McGinley going around him. Very intelligent pass back to Mulligan. Gets maybe not a full contact on the ball, but excellent positional play by Declan O'Sullivan.
Young lad straight out of minor, of course. There's another former minor, Cormac McAnallen, but then most of this Tyrone team have minor and under-21 All-Ireland medals. Kicked in there adventurously by Declan Quill. Spilled. Tyrone now showing us a little bit of the nerves. Cormac McAnallen just needing to play out this phase of the game. They won't worry too much about what scores they're amassing during the second half of the contest, just so long as they remain a firm distance ahead of the kingdom. Kerry still believe they're in it. Scanlon towards Johnny Crowley. Likely to pop up anywhere. Liam Hassett coming through. Kerry needing a goal, and everybody from Tyrone back there.
Yes, and if the point this one, there's only going to be 5 points between them. Again, as we've said earlier, if Kerry came up with a goal out of somewhere, I'll tell you the fat is certainly in the fire then.
It would be some recovery if they managed to pull this one out.
Again, Tyrone have had quite a number of opportunities in this half, but it seems to me they have only scored, actually, is it 1 point in the half, Ger? Yeah, that's
Declan Quill kicking the free from the 20-metre line. He's put it over. And as you say, the gap is now down to more manageable proportions from a Kerry perspective. 10 points to 5. 23 minutes into the second half.
Yes, and the question really remains, can Tyrone maintain the same zest and the same intensity that they have had throughout? Like, they went at it so hard in the first half, it must have taken something out of them.
That's a great catch again by Darragh O'Shea. The Colossus in midfield. Second wonderful high catch is made. Bad marking there by Ryan McMenamin, allowing Gooch free. And then it spills away from Mark O'Shea, and there's a foul, and it's a free kick to Tyrone. And an injured player there is Brian Dooher. Brian Dooher playing in his 29th championship match today for Tyrone. Will it be the one that will see them through to the All-Ireland final and beat Paddy's team? He's a former Ulster Player of the Year.
Yes, and he has worked so hard in this game. Actually, I've been hugely impressed by the three half forwards, Dooher, McGuigan and Cavan. Just watch this here again, all going through. And again, Dooher, okay, basically Johnny Crowley does draw him into the foul, and correctly free out for Tyrone. But just looking at the three half forwards, Dooher, McGuigan and Cavan, they've been outstanding in different capacities. McGuigan is a prompter, Dooher as a worker, and Cavan as a fielder of the ball.
It's lovely variation, and the chemistry is just right. But they've only scored 1 point in 25 minutes of the second half, and that tells us something about their sense of belief in themselves. Are they prepared to take chances? It also shows us Kerry fighting back. But did they just allow Tyrone to build up this huge gap in the first half?
Well, I think that's it. They have got their lead. They're going to allow it. They're using it as a cushion. They're prepared to put that defensive system into operation and make it very hard for Kerry to go and break it down.
Player down injured there appears to be Sean Kavanagh. Big muscular figure in midfield. This is the foul again in reprise here. Really hurt himself when he hit the ground that time. It was a lovely green sward and so on. There is a real hard surface underneath the grass, so it's quite unforgiving. A lot of fumbling back there. Fitzmaurice eventually taking it up. Campbell was approaching, and it's going to be a free to Kerry. They want to take it quickly. Goalkeeper Declan O'Keefe. Scanlon's way back. Push in the back. Tyrone now just wanted to force Kerry back down the field. Any light of the breeze that's there is in Tyrone's favour. Seamus Moynihan. Dara O'Shea now. Colin Cooper skips away and he's wrestled down by Ryan McMenamin. That's a yellow card, or should be.
Well, that's a cynical foul that time.
He hasn't been ticked so far. That doesn't matter anyway, because that kind of offence, I think, does merit a yellow. So 3 Tyrone players with yellows, and where Kerry are concerned, I think the total came to 6. So far too many cards.
Yes, and I'm just wondering, are Tyrone starting to give away frees in very dangerous positions and allow Kerry to claw their way back into the game? Look at, if they score this, we're back to a 4-point game. There's a good 10 minutes to go.
They're looking very wobbly all of a sudden, having been in cruise control.
Oh, by all means, much the better team.
Quill kicks and belts it over for his second point from a free, having taken over the duties from Dara O'Quinada, who's now sitting on the bench, and the man in the middle there up on the stands trying to fire up this Kerry team. They've only scored 6 points. Tyrone have scored 10. A place in the finals at stake. There's no cut for winning this.
No, but a guy who's impressed me for Kerry that maybe has prompted the turnaround in the second half has been Dara O'Shea. Some of his feeding has been absolutely outstanding.
Beaten this time, however, by Kevin Hughes. He stumbles down, and it's going to be a free kick. And again, the referee is busy with a notebook.
Yeah, there have been far too many stoppages in the game, far too many players. Maybe, okay, admittedly, a lot of them have got hard knocks and need treatment, but the game has had a staccato nature to it. That's just very, very disappointing. It's respectable.
Well, we mentioned the fact, Martin, that that's Tyrone that scored just 1 point in the second half so far, and we're now 28 minutes into the half. They've only created 4 scoring chances. They don't care, mind you.
Not at all, because to be honest with you, even though they only created 4 chances, any time they get the ball, they manage to retain their possession very, very wisely. And okay, maybe there is a kind of a hold on to what we have mentality about them. I think if they attacked a little bit more, they probably could build on this, because they're the better team on the day to Kerry.
Seamus Scanlon there getting the attention from Aoife Niwiri, who is the physio with the Kerry squad. It's going to be a free kick, which Gerard Cabalin is preparing to take. Made a really explosive start to the game, Cabalin, with the first 3 catches taken very cleanly. And that set up a platform from which Tyrone have been able to build, and build very firmly. They're playing with enough assurance at this stage to look like the team who will make it through to the final, barring some kind of a catastrophe. Sean Kavanagh, into the corner he goes, taking on Dara O'Shea, teasing and tormenting his man, using a few valuable seconds. Could do with a score here. Hughes setting it up for O'Neill. Checked his stride well and kicked firmly and over. It's a second point for Stephen O'Neill. Now the fans, with the belief in their team, who travelled the distances over the years, look like they're seeing their team through to a final. 5 between them. That's the second point for Tyrone in the second half.
Yeah, and a huge score that time, but again, we must hand it to Kavanagh. Made a great burst down the right-hand side, had the vision to see the man inside him, and again, give it to O'Neill, who put it over with his right foot.
Interesting change that, with Collie Holmes coming on. Usually a full-back or a defender anyway, could play in midfield as well. And I think it's a case of bringing on fresh legs to fight it for the remaining 5 minutes plus stoppage time to ensure victory. Again, Kerry go forward. Hassett ready to take the line ball. Kerry, for a large portion of this match, have simply been blown apart. But they're still there.
Yeah, but the tenacity of the Tyrone defending right through the field has been a real eye-opener today. Basically, they have never allowed Kerry to settle.
It's looking very definitely like an All-Ulster, All-Ireland football final, because the second of the semis, which you'll be able to see next Sunday, of course, Armagh, the All-Ireland champions against Donegal. And that sees a boot going flying in there, and it's going to be a free to Tyrone. Four minutes of the 70 remain. Ryan McMenamin. Kerry have never been able to live with Tyrone, and there's too many steps taken by McMenamin. Kerry will need a goal here. Can somebody provide it for them? Here's a chance. Crowley's around, trying to go through. He's looking for a penalty. Referee still playing time, and too many steps taken is the call. It goes Tyrone's way, and it's a free out. Controversial.
I'd like to see that one again. Indeed, a very high ball coming in. Crowley did very well to run it. I thought he was fouled initially, but let's just take a look at it again. Gets the ball, confronted by Conor Gormley. Again, burrows forward all right. The backs stand off him, and maybe okay, free out is the right decision.
I think the referee's got it right there. They didn't rush in with clumsy, awkward, hefty challenges. They were disciplined as much as they could be.
Yeah, both Jordan and Gormley did good defending. They got between Crowley and the goals and just did enough to put him off.
Dooher again in need of attention. Is it going to be that kind of day? Such a long way back for them, all the way back to the kingdom. John Devine. Following that, let off for Tyrone. Another free kick, this time on the 65-metre line, and Tomas O'Shea to take what is the 70th free kick of the match. Littered with free kicks, littered with cards. A wretched display. And the saving grace is Tyrone's emphatic performance of teamwork.
Yeah, it's been a very untidy game, and that's putting it mildly. But again, Tyrone's intensity throughout, Tyrone's just will to win has prevailed, or I think will prevail, even though there's just a couple of minutes left.
It's like they've come here to play different kinds of football matches. Good movement, great finish, but it comes back off the post just there when Sean Kavanagh thought it had gone over. About a minute and a half remaining of normal time. The referee and his call here will be very interesting. How much time is he going to add on? Brian Dooher recovered from injury, demonstrating that brilliantly. The outside of the boot, the ball dissecting the posts, sending the crowd into raptures. Dooher's first point. Tyrone are on their way to the All-Ireland final now, surely on the 28th day of September, where they will play either Armagh or Donegal. Tomas O'Shea hit and hope into space. Kerry from the very beginning have been simply wiped asunder here. They've had no answer.
Yeah, and I think it's very fitting actually that Dooher goes and scores that point with his right foot, because he has worked and worked and worked. He's given everything that's in the tank for the Tyrone cause today. Takes a lot of criticism, maybe not the prettiest footballer to watch at times, but by God Almighty, he gives everything he has.
The fifth substitution right at the very end as we head into injury time for Kerry. Aidan McCarroll, Liam Hassett is off. But they're going to need half of Tralee and half of Killarney down there right now to try and win this one. As O'Neill comes through and kicks it over the bar. Stephen O'Neill's third point. Now they'll be wondering in Tyrone, A, will Peter Canavan be okay to play in the final, and B, how are they going to get the tickets?
And it's fully deserved, Jared. They've worked and worked and worked, and they have reduced Kerry to a shadow of the team that we expected to come out here today.
13-6, and there'll only be 2 minutes of added time to be played at the end of the 70. The game is up for Kerry. It's been like that for a long, long time. Tyrone have been much the better side. The Ulster champions beating the Munster team. Tyrone created 23 scoring chances against 19 for Kerry. From that point of view, it doesn't look much of a gap. Collie Holmes in there as a substitute, comes back out towards Owen Mulligan. They'll be seen again in this year's All-Ireland football final. The first ever All-Ulster football final beckons 5 weeks from today. Colm Cooper way back to Forage. He should be up at the other end, getting a couple of passes, getting a couple of scores. But Kerry have been rudderless. Late opportunity here, and this time it is going to be a free in from the 20-metre line. But the Tyrone backs won't worry too much about that. The main purpose of the exercise was to win by at least one, as Declan Quill, the man who was fouled by Cormac McAnallen. Cormac, for the record, gets yellow. Tyrone have had 4 yellow cards, 6 for Kerry, 10 yellow cards in the match, 70+ free kicks. But when the record books are gleaned in years to come, people will say, well, what happened that day? It was the day that Tyrone qualified for another All-Ireland final, like 1986, like 1995.
And it must be said is fully deserved. And again, on the part of Kerry, as we said earlier, is definitely nightmare in Croke Park Part 3.
The 2 minutes of added time has been played. Kerry are well and truly trounced. The margin of victory doesn't reflect it. It's only 7 points at the end. But there was one magnificent team out there. They had a game plan. Mickey Hart put them through their paces, prepared them really, really well. It was frustrating for Paddy O'Shea and his charges, but Tyrone are in another All-Ireland football final. They're one of those counties who've never won the title. Will Sam be going north to Tyrone? He'll be going north anyway, to either Tyrone or Armagh or Donegal. It's an All-Ulster, All-Ireland final for 2003. Let's go down now and see what the celebrations are like down on pitch side with Marty Morrissey.
Mickey Hart, that was a very, very impressive performance by your team.
Well, it certainly was impressive in the first half. In the second half, we had to work very hard for the number of scores that we got. But I think that we did our work in the first half. We worked so hard in the first half. We knew if we kept up that work rate, we had done enough to stay ahead. But you have to hand it to Kerry. They didn't throw in the towel. They made us fight to the bitter end. And at one stage, there was only 4 points in it with about 10 minutes to go. So a great victory by all means, but unfortunately, there was no cups handed out today. We're just in a final.
But you certainly steamrolled them in the first half. But let's look at the second half. You had to perform defensively, and you did it with honours.
Well, that's it. We keep saying that every player on the field is a defender when we haven't got the ball. And that philosophy we'll try to get through all year, and we're still working on it. And the more we do it, I think the better we'll become. But again, I'll say to you, there's 2 other teams sitting in the semi-final. They have their eye on the title as well. We're just going to make up one of that 2 at the end of the season.
So Tyrone then just 1 game away from winning the National League, the Ulster Championship, and perhaps the All-Ireland title. It's been a fantastic year for them so far, and we congratulate them today, Joe Bradley. I mean, from early on in this game, it didn't look like losing it.
Yeah, I think Colm was particularly delighted at the performance of Brian Dooher. I hope that straw hat that he was talking about earlier on in the year is particularly good eating. Maybe you could go to a cake shop and get them to make a replica of it for All-Ireland final day. No,
what kind of sauce would you like on it, Colm?
The system was what flummoxed Kerry out there today, and the application of the Tyrone players to that system. Now, it was ugly in the second half. It was not a bit pretty. But, you know, Armagh won an All-Ireland last year. Exactly the same thing. And, you know, that's the way to play winning football nowadays. Tyrone won't be a bit concerned about the fact that it was an ugly old bad second half with 70 frees.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any difference whatsoever. The Tyrone team went out in years past and played great football and were beaten by teams that shouldn't have beaten them. And now they've hit in the system. And
this is the point that has been made about this Tyrone team all year. They have learned how to work the system.
They certainly have. It's not nice to look at. If Armagh and Tyrone meet in the All-Ireland final, I don't think you'll have people travelling from all over the world to see it, because you're going to have a situation where you'll have no forwards nearly on either side. You know, you'll have ultra-defensive formation from both teams trying to break out defence. But fair play to Tyrone. They were much the better team. You know, they could have devastated Kerry today, and I think it's probably the end of an era in Kerry. You know, there's a lot of those players now that have, you know, the likes of Seamus Moynihan seemed very frustrated with himself and everything that was going on. A lot of it had to do with the fact that he was put under huge pressure every time he got the ball. Obviously, Tyrone singled him out and said that when Moynihan would get the ball, we'll nail him.
Yeah.
Fair or foul, it stopped the attack. It was a messy, scrappy second half. What I don't like about Tyrone, I have to say, is a lot of their players seem to go to ground very easily and don't get up. And the only thing I do hope for the final, I hope Peter Canavan is fit to play in it, because it would be terrible for him after this.
It would be a huge irony if after
just
all of that
Peter
Peter Canavan wasn't to make it. However, that's one for another day. More about this All-Ireland semi-final after this commercial break. Croke Park, Southern Tyrone into this year's All-Ireland football final against either Armagh, the defending champions, or Donegal. That's the semi-final next week. You can see it, of course, live here on RTE television as per usual. Dublin and Cork in that minor semi-final. Look at the stats from today's game. Just to wrap up on things there, the scoreline first of all. Well, a win for Tyrone at the end. If you look at the scoreline, they were probably much better than that on the field of play and in terms of their domination of the match. Look at the number of frees in this game. I don't think that really the players of Tyrone and Kerry actually manufactured all that number of frees themselves. Perhaps there was a little bit of a help from the referee in what was really a scrappy game of football for the neutral. And also 10 yellow cards issued through the course of the match. Now back here with me in studio, Joe Brawley still and Colin Moore. One score for me in the second half that kind of really told me that Kerry were gone. It was Ryan McMenamin, the cornerback for Tyrone, came up and scored an important point. I mean, everybody was mucking in at this stage.
Yeah,
everybody was putting their wheel to the shoulder.
I think at that stage too, it was a very important score because it was just a wee window of opportunity for Kerry after half-time. You could sense Tyrone coming out, having been in at half-time and thinking, God, we're going to win this game, we're ahead, we're too far ahead to lose. And there was just a wee period of limbo in the Tyrone performance. And Kerry missed a couple of wides, kicked a couple of bad wides, and then of course they surged out from the defence. And this was typical of them all day long. They're good at working this. One of the things about a 13-man defensive system is that you've got to be good at working the ball out of the defence then, because there's so many people.
Made before the match, this kind of break that they made.
Breaking through. Now that's not, I think Ryan McMenamin's maybe kicked 4 points from cornerback this year, and that's averaged it in 4 or 5 games. And it's typical of the way that they play. It's typical of the way that you must play whenever you're adopting that sort of formation. Yeah. For me, Mickey Hart deserves a lot of credit because I would say that probably he had, the blueprint that he had for this Kerry game, it went exactly according to that blueprint. Everything that they did, even in the second half when they were, we were both sort of thinking they were too defensive, that was exactly the way to play, because in their minds, it was still the kingdom. They had to win that game.
One of the things he hadn't allowed for was the loss of Peter Canavan earlier in the game. He is now with Marty Morrissey. Let's join him.
Thank you very much, Michael. Peter Canavan, a great day for Tyrone, great day to be the captain, but disappointing the way it worked out for you.
Yeah, from a personal point of view, I'm devastated with what happened, but on the other hand, I'm absolutely delighted that Tyrone have defeated Kerry and we've made it into the All-Ireland final.
Certainly, let's go back to that first half. He really steamrolled Kerry. Obviously, that was the strategy.
Well, I suppose every team goes out, they want to get off to a good start, but we made a point of it because we would have been very aware that if Kerry had built up a good lead, then we certainly would have been in trouble. So it was vital that we got out of the blocks fast and we managed to get a couple of good scores from the board early.
Dwelling on that first half, you picked up 2 injuries. That cut on the side of your head needs stitches, and of course the ankle as well. Just tell me about how that happened.
I didn't say much for a doctor because it is stitched, Marty. Well, again, I just couldn't believe it, and running around with silly bandage in my head, I felt like Dinky McBride for 1 minute. But just the way they worked out. But in fairness to the boys, they didn't waver, and they kept battling on, played some great football. Mightn't have been very stylish at times, but everybody put their shoulder behind it, and a great victory for Tyrone.
Just about the ankle, that was accidental. It was a race between yourself and Seamus Moynihan, if I recall correctly.
Oh, purely, yeah. Just, I think I went to jump for the ball, and whatever way I landed on it, the ankle went. So it was purely accidental, yeah.
What's the medical judgment on this?
Well, I'll have to get it x-rayed now, and we'll just take it from there.
Well, you're 5 weeks, so hopefully it'll be okay.
Yeah, it's nice to be in that position. We're 5 weeks to prepare for All-Ireland, and from a personal point of view, I hope I'll be okay for that day.
One last thing, when I went in to get you out for this interview, the Tyrone team, while they were happy, they weren't jumping around the place. They still seem, it really impressed me today when I visited earlier, they seem to be very focused, very calm.
Yeah, you might want to see them later on tonight, Marty, you might be saying that. But yeah, it's only a semi-final, there's no medals handed out today, so we've still another big game left, and I think they're mature enough to realise that.
Well done, Peter Canavan. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Marty.
Thanks, Marty. I think the Tyrone doctor did a fantastic job because you can't actually see the cut at all in any of those shots, it has to be said. Very gracious about the way the team played and all that kind of stuff. If there's no ligament damage done, then he should be okay for that final.
Yeah, he has a chance. It's a race against time for him, but Tyrone won't like to go into the final. It's okay they won today without him, but it'd be a severe loss mentally to Tyrone to have to go out in an All-Ireland final against them. When he went off today, Tyrone were moving. And for me, Tyrone did play poorly in the second half. I think they staggered across the finishing line rather than surged through it. You know, there was a long period in the middle of that second half where Kerry dominated possession and came right back into the game. You know, if you total the Tyrone scoring opportunities, they only had less than 20. You know, whereas Kerry nearly had as many. No, I know that sort of statistic gives a false impression of the game, but Tyrone, for me, did not create enough scoring chances in this game at all, and for the long period of that second half, I think they struggled badly with our game. The other thing about the game is that the formation that they adopt and the formation Armagh adopts has long-term complications for the game of football, because it's going to change it into a game of propelling the ball generally by hand, and there will be very, very little kicking in the game. That's what this is going to do, this ultra-defensive pattern, because there's no point in kicking the ball up the field to the forwards who are outnumbered, so it has to be moved forward by short hand passes.
Let's look at next week's semi-final between Armagh and Donegal. Now, I think most people now during the week will say it'll be a Tyrone-Armagh final. In fact, it's been mentioned here once or twice even. It may not be as simple as that.
Can I not go back and disagree with Colin with what he was just saying there? I mean, I thought that Tyrone were never in any danger in the second half, and what they did was they soaked up inevitable Kerry pressure for about 10 minutes at the start of the second half, and then they just hit them on the break. I mean, don't forget, Colin, that Tyrone outscored Kerry in the second half, 4 points from play. Yeah, so they outscored them 4 points to 3. They were never under any threat. I mean, realistically, I know you don't like saying anything nice about Tyrone, but they did play in a very, very, very effective professional performance.
If you give a dog a bad name, it sticks.
I mean, I don't know when he talks about, you know, Kerry sort of getting back into the game and all of that. I mean, Kerry were never in the game, is the reality. I mean, there was only 1 team in it, you know.
Well, it was back to 4 points on the scoreboard. I mean, anything can happen at that stage. Ball in the back of the net, and suddenly it's a completely different game.
Well, if anything could happen, Kerry could score 5 goals, but it never looked like happening. I mean, Tyrone were simply dominant, and they've got one thing about them too is they've got a lot of very unheralded players like Jordan and Gormley at wing half, who no one's talking about. It's been magnificent all year. I mean, I guarantee you that Jordan, if you watch videos of him, he hasn't made a mistake all year, and I mean not a mistake in picking a ball up, in fielding the ball, in tackling. You know, and they've got lots of lads like that, and really it's a much bigger team now than Peter.
Yeah, but I'm amazed by your willingness to curry favour with Tyrone at this stage, at any cost. There is
if there's one man you can't level that accusation against.
Of Tyrone from you today at all.
I mean, I don't mind who wins the All-Ireland as long as it isn't Tyrone. I mean, I'll put that on record. But I mean, fair is fair. You have to say that they were outstanding today.
No, I don't think they were outstanding at all. For me, the football that they played the second half was quite poor, and it wouldn't be sufficient to beat either of the teams when they get to the All-Ireland final. I think that they froze a bit in that second half. In the last 5 minutes, when McMenamin got the point, and for me then Stephen O'Neill got a point, and then they all surged forward again. But like, you know, for a long period there, they were just a little bit jittery about it. If Kerry could have put over another couple of points, and they had opportunities, Tyrone certainly didn't look to me as a team who were supremely confident about going out and playing football to win.
But you mentioned the Stephen O'Neill point, and he got 3 of them when he came on to replace Peter Canavan, but towards the end he got a couple of points, and really this was just again kind of pushing forward for me. Tyrone sort of, any chance that Kerry might have had was gone again with these
I mean, I think the key point that I was sort of attempting to make was that Tyrone didn't need to score in the second half, and what they needed to do was to be patient, defend, and then to take chances like that. And you know, that just sums up Kavanagh for me, like 20 years of age, and there he was in the corner. Yes, important stage in the match, took Darragh O'Shea on, didn't do anything stupid, didn't try and take a stupid point from the corner, kept his wits about him, delivered a great ball out. That score really finished the game completely, didn't it?
Kavanagh was very composed in possession. The other thing about it that I felt that Kerry weren't able for the intensity of the battle that Tyrone threw at them from the very first minute. Now, as it went on, they sort of got into it more and they started to win more ball. But that initial 10 or 15 minutes, and really teams set out their stall in the first few minutes of the game of how they intend to play. And Tyrone set out their stall in the first 10 minutes, and Kerry weren't able to cope with that physical and mental passion that they had for victory.
Well, I suppose like for the neutrals amongst them, the purists, who want to see lovely football played all the time, and that's for us to sort of worry about. But at the end of the day, Tyrone did what Tyrone had to do.
But that's not to say that there wasn't some very good football played. At times there were some lovely passages of football, but it was, I mean, I'm sure it must have been uppermost in Tyrone's mind that this was make or break for them. You know, it's a terrific Gaelic football in county. They've suffered, you know, some awful defeats and humiliations and people poking fun at them and all of that. And this was such a huge thing for them to break through, because it's one of the great Gaelic footballing counties of Ireland. It's amazing to think they've never won in All-Ireland. So the key thing today was to nail it down and win, regardless of how you won. I have to say, it was an impressive victory, Michael.
It was an impressive victory, and ironically, and as it was mentioned a moment ago as well, this might actually signal the end of a lot of that Kerry team, and even perhaps, we don't know, the Kerry management.
Yeah, well, I would be very surprised if Paddy O'Shea would even consider going on. You know, he's achieved a lot with Kerry. He's got a lot of criticism, but he's won a couple of All-Irelands, and he's been quite successful as manager. But, you know, there's a lot of the key Kerry players are not as good as they were. Like, you know, you take Liam Hassett, had a very poor game today, and he's been a great servant. Seamus Moynihan. You know, you have people like that. Michael McCarthy did very well at cornerback, but like Kerry are short 4 or 5 really good players at the moment.
Okay, let me take you back again to the point about next week's semi-final.
No.
Armagh, the All-Ireland champions against Tyrone.
Well, I think if most people at this stage would probably like to see Armagh and Tyrone at it, because they'd be such good friends and near neighbours, but I think it's going to work out like that. Donegal have surprised me, I have to say, and give them due credit for what they've done. I didn't expect them to get this far, and I think it's an amazing achievement coming after their whitewash by Fermanagh. I think it's an amazing achievement to come back the way they have. Just think Armagh are just that rugged. I was going to say cynical, I better not use that word, but they know how to win at this stage.
Yes, and I thought you were going to say they remind you of the Meath team that you played on, no?
Well, then I'd be very wrong to use.
Nothing wrong with them. Gentlemen, we're going to have to leave it there. We're out of time for the moment. Thank you very much for your thoughts on today's semi-final, and indeed next week's. Okay, let's have a look at the results of the day then here at Croke Park, just to confirm how the 2 All-Ireland semi-finals worked out. There's 2 of the weekend's events. Well, Kerry were represented in both the senior and minor games this afternoon. Kerry represented here on the panel tonight as well. Pat Spillane is with us, and so too is Kevin McStay, and we'll be hearing from them later on. And also indeed we'll be hearing from former Cork Camogie star Lyndon Lee regarding those semi-finals. First up though, it's football. Kerry this year on a big mission to atone for their second half reversal in last year's All-Ireland final against Armagh. Well, their purpose today was to reach that final once again, but standing in their way, another top-class Ulster side, and one with their own side set on football's big day. The commentary is by Ger Canning and Martin Carney.
The first of the Bank of Ireland football semi-finals just seconds away. And straight away picking it up here is the midfielder, Sean Kavanagh. Gonna have fun today with Kavanagh, Kaplan and Canavan, all in the Tyrone colours. Numbers taking Owen Mulligan. Challenge there by Mike McCarthy. Good ball inside. The falling body of Kaplan recovers well. Taking on Fitzmaurice, going for it. Oh, a real hit from Hope on into the centre, and Moynihan is there quickly, wins his duel initially against Peter Canavan and clears. This is Kaplan taking on Eamon Fitzmaurice. They're switched across with O'Shea, and the loose ball hanging around there, intended for Canavan, taken up instead by Seamus Moynihan. Coming out for there was Ryan McMenamin. Out towards Philip Jordan. Very classy left half back Jordan. Sean O'Sullivan chasing after him, pushing and fouling him, and that's going to be a free in, and Peter Canavan can come out and kick the first point. A goal and 42 points so far in the championship for Peter Canavan. This to be the first point of the day, hit with accuracy. Tyrone take the lead. So a decent start by the men from the Red Hand County. That's Conor Gormley. Here's Brian Dooher, a man who will be flying all over the place. Back into space. This is with Seamus Moynihan. A little unsettled early on. A bit tentative, the Kerry backs. A lot of pressure being exerted in their direction. John Sheehan, foul this time. There's a Tyrone player down on the ground. The foul was by Enda McGinley, but that's not Enda on the ground, that's Peter Canavan. Declan O'Keefe calling on the referee just to talk with the referee, with the umpires, but it's definitely Mike McCarthy who's got the yellow, and under 4 minutes are gone.
There was nothing intentional in that whatsoever.
Absolutely not. Amazing to see that ended up in a yellow card. Owen Mulligan, ready to take on his man. Very confident player. He's had a very good season. Mulligan going all the way through, laying it off here, and McGinley was coming in, and that has gone over the bar, and it's Enda McGinley. All going Tyrone's way. It's only his 3rd point in this year's championship. This is his very first season, but the spade work was done by Owen Mulligan, tormenting the back line of Kerry, and then there was a man coming up in support, and it was flicked over. That's a great catch by Jared Kaplan. He's winning everything. And Kerry are going to switch the direction of their kickouts and take it away from Kaplan, who's playing left half forward. Seamus Moynihan held, and Peter Canavan's down on the ground again. Once more he needs attention. Don't know what happened to him. The doctor, Seamus Cassidy's coming out.
What's worrying, actually, I think initially they're looking at his ankle rather than the injury to the head, and maybe he went over his ankle badly that time that he went down, Ger.
Watch it once again here, and just what, oh yes, you could see there. The minute the contact was made, it was his ankle, well spotted. And it looks like his day at Croke Park is over. Brian Doore into space. This is Stephen O'Neill. His big day, perhaps. Beautiful ball by McGinley inside here. Kavanagh's coming onto it. It's gone over. He got a goal against Fermanagh. The man who loves to tear ahead and join the inside forward line, and did so with telling effect there, and he makes it 4 points to no score. That's a goal and 9 points he scored in this year's championship. Young man from Moy. Declan O'Keefe with this kick. Kerry trying to win some ball. Darragh O'Shea is beaten for it. Fists it down. This by his brother Tomas. Taken by Brian McGuigan for a very, very alert-looking Tyrone team. But Stephen O'Neill that time fumbled. Leaves Moynihan with a chance to try and play it to space. Only to a Tyrone forward. And that's Owen Mulligan. Mulligan ready to take on his man, who is Mike McCarthy, the Kerry captain. At this stage, it must seem an awful long way from the All-Ireland final on the 28th of September for Kerry. McGuigan kicking, and he's put it over the bar. And the fans are cheering on their team. Yes, and Kerry have no response so far.
No, none indeed. And again, Tomas O'Shea is on him at the moment. Again, a lovely pass from Mulligan out to him. Great body strength to keep O'Shea at bay, and a wonderful score from the right wing.
Eamon Fitzmaurice going by McGuigan. Fitzmaurice feeding it ahead here. This is a bit more promising. Nicely inside, Tom Sullivan. Nicely out. Gooch, can he finally point for Kerry? He can, but it's taken 24 minutes and 10 seconds. 6 points to 1. Kerry will suddenly feel, hang on, we've given them the opening 24 minutes of this match. Now it's our turn to play. One back here again by Tom O'Sullivan. And that is another awful kick. Owen Brosnan this time from the middle of the field. Nothing is going right for Kerry. Nice ball down. Who's marking McGuigan? Nothing really happening. Once again it is Stephen O'Neill. Good ball in. Decent possession for McGinley. Back in towards O'Neill, and he's hauled down, and it's going to be another free kick. Tomas O'Shea and his colleagues in bits.
For those of us who grew up admiring Kerry, this is quite unbelievable to see them playing with so little composure, so little confidence, and so little ability at this stage of an All-Ireland series.
Pressure is now on the management. Owen Mulligan with a 3rd point from a free. And he's got 3 frees, 3 points, and he makes it 9 points to 1. At this stage, I don't think the bookies would even entertain a bet against Tyrone to reach this year's All-Ireland final. And that just about tells it all, doesn't it? Sheer frustration, having made the long journey, and the team isn't just underperforming, it's not performing.
I think a sheer disbelief, actually, by a lot of the Kerry followers.
I think it's that question I asked you before the ball was thrown in. How relevant is tradition? In the great game nowadays, it doesn't matter over it. if you're well prepared and if you're going to go in there with good quality players, you've got a real chance, and that's what Tyrone are showing us. Decent looking attack by Kerry. Can it produce a second point? The umpires had a little thought about it. They put it over, and it is Mark O'Shea who's got it, having come on as a substitute just about 10 minutes ago, and it's 9 points to 2, only 7 between them. It's to Kerry's credit that they are just 7 points behind.
That's a great strike from Mark O'Shea. Again, something that they need badly coming into half-time.
Hit in towards McGinley. Seamus Scanlon finding Johnny Crowley, the one man who can take on this Tyrone defence. It's close, but not quite close enough, and he was well aware of it from the time it left his boot. This was Seamus Scanlon feeding it across towards the man from Glen Flesk, which is a few miles outside Killarney. And that wasn't quite a few miles away, but a couple of inches. Here's Kevin Hughes, very deep. Cormac McAnallen, a very athletic figure coming from the rear. Ahead by Conor Gormley. Into space, and it's Ryan McMenamin. A real terrier. Gooch is after him. He's his man. McMenamin coming up from cornerback to kick with accuracy and put it over. He's providing the leadership, the little number 4. Playing in his 17th championship match, a very fast and effective player. And that is just his second point in this year's championship. He scored against Down earlier on in one of the Ulster final matches. Seamus Moynihan, lovely style, but needs to get his team going. Tomas O'Shea coming into the action. O'Shea chased by Sean Kavanagh. Getting support there. Gooch had started the run back. Firing it in, and he's fired it wide. No joy for Colin Cooper. 1 point at the very first of the match for Kerry, and that came after 24 minutes. Dara O'Shea, usually a very good passer of the ball, outside to Moynihan. Seamus Scanlon coming into the equation, down towards Johnny Crowley. Again, given a little bit of latitude by Kieran Gourlier. I think he's a little bit tentative in his approach where Crowley's concerned. Colin Cooper, 2 men on him. Gavin Devlin is one of them. Here's Seamus Moynihan way up there. Kerry needs scores. Here's a chance of a goal as O'Sullivan's on, and he's cracked it over the bar. Should have gone for a goal. They needed it. It's his first point.
Oh yes, and Dara Major was hovering with intent to the left of them that time. Should have been given the ball.
10-4. The Kerry fans finding their voice now, and a chance to cheer, a chance to encourage the build-up here involving Hassett. The pass laid across to Declan O'Sullivan, taking on the man there, but he put it over when he needed to put it under. Tyrone with only 1 point, remember, in the second half so far. 20 and a half minutes gone. All the good work has been done in the opening 35 minutes from their point of view. Brian McGuigan hitting it into space. Kerry just almost freezing, but the attack continues into McGinley in on the end line. Taking them all on, McGinley into space, and it's stopped on the line. Taken off the line brilliantly after Owen Mulligan went in to reach for that. And we'll just have to do a double check to make sure we've got the right player in the right position there. I think it could have been Declan O'Sullivan. Way back. Whoever it was saved Kerry, because had that gone in there, I think the match as a contest was over.
That was a wonderful piece of defending by Declan O'Sullivan, who's playing out of centre half forward at the moment. Just watch McGinley going around. A very intelligent pass back to Mulligan. Gets maybe not a full contact on the ball, but excellent positional play by Declan O'Sullivan.
Kerry still believe they're in it. Scanlon towards Johnny Crowley. Likely to pop up anywhere. Liam Hassett coming through. Kerry needing a goal, and everybody from Tyrone back there.
Yes, and if the point this one, there's only going to be 5 points between them. Again, as we've said earlier, if Kerry came up with a goal out of somewhere, I'll tell you the fat is certainly in the fire then. Again, Tyrone have had quite a number of opportunities in this half, but it seems to me they have only scored, actually, is it 1 point in the half, Ger? Yeah, that's
Declan Quill kicking the free from the 20-metre line. He's put it over. And as you say, the gap is now down to more manageable proportions from a Kerry perspective. Sean Kavanagh into the corner he goes, taking on Dara O'Shea. teasing and tormenting his man, using a few valuable seconds. Could do with a score here. Hughes setting it up for O'Neill. Checked his stride well and kicked firmly and over. It's a second point for Stephen O'Neill. Now the fans, with the belief in their team, who've travelled the distances over the years, look like they're seeing their team through to a final. 5 between them. That's the second point for Tyrone in the second half. Looks like they've come here to play different kinds of football matches. Good movement, great finish, but it comes back off the post just there when Sean Kavanagh thought it had gone over. About a minute and a half remaining of normal time. The referee and his call here will be very interesting. How much time is he going to add on? Brian Doer recovered from injury, demonstrating that brilliantly. The outside of the boot, the ball dissecting the posts, sending the crowd into raptures. Doer's first point. Tyrone are on their way to the All-Ireland final now, surely on the 28th day of September, where they will play either Armagh or Donegal. Tomas O'Shea hit on hope into space. Kerry from the very beginning have been simply wiped asunder here. They've had no answer.
Yeah, and I think it's very fitting actually that Duro goes and scores that point with his right foot, because he has worked and worked and worked. He's given everything that's in the tank for the Tyrone cause today. Takes a lot of criticism, maybe not the prettiest footballer to watch at times, but by God Almighty, he gives everything he has.
The 5th substitution right at the very end as we head into injury time for Kerry. Aidan McCarroll, Liam Hassett is off. But they're going to need half of Tralee and half of Killarney down there right now to try and win this one. As O'Neill comes through and kicks it over the bar. Stephen O'Neill's 3rd point. Now they'll be wondering in Tyrone, A, will Peter Canavan be okay to play in the final, and B, how are they going to get the tickets?
And it's fully deserved, Ger. They've worked and worked and worked, and they have reduced Kerry to a shadow of the team that we expected to come out here today.
13-6, and there'll only be 2 minutes of added time to be played at the end of the 70. The game is up for Kerry. It's been like that for a long, long time. Tyrone have been much the better side. The Ulster champions beating the Munster team. Tyrone created 23 scoring chances against 19 for Kerry. From that point of view, it doesn't look much of a gap. Collie Holmes in there as a substitute, comes back out towards Owen Mulligan. They'll be seen again in this year's All-Ireland football final. The first ever All-Ulster football final beckons 5 weeks from today. Colm Cooper way back to Forage. He should be up at the other end, getting a couple of passes, getting a couple of scores. But Kerry have been rudderless. Late opportunity here, and this time it is going to be a free in from the 20-metre line. But the Tyrone backs won't worry too much about that. The main purpose of the exercise was to win by at least one, as Declan Quill, the man who was fouled by Cormac McAnallen. When the record books are gleaned in years to come, people will say, well, what happened that day was the day that Tyrone qualified for another All-Ireland final, like 1986, like 1995.
And it must be said is fully deserved, and again on the part of Kerry, as we said earlier, is definitely nightmare in Croke Park Part 3.
The 2 minutes of added time has been played. Kerry are well and truly trounced. The margin of victory doesn't reflect it. It's only 7 points at the end, but there was one magnificent team out there. They had a game plan. Mickey Hart put them through their paces, prepared them really, really well. It was frustrating for Paddy O'Shea and his charges, but Tyrone are in another All-Ireland football final. They're one of those counties who've never won the title. Will Sam be going north to Tyrone? He'll be going north anyway, to either Tyrone or Armagh or Donegal. It's an All-Ulster All-Ireland final for 2003.
We didn't play well in the first half. We knew that if we didn't want to give Tyrone that kind of a lead, but unfortunately early on, you know, we were just that little bit unlucky, dropping balls around the middle of the field. Look, share of things didn't go right for us. Second half, I felt that they played much better, but they left that little bit too much to do. If we did maybe get a goal in the second half, it would possibly maybe have brought Kerry into another gear, but that didn't happen. The tactics of pulling everybody back, you know, it was difficult to get through.
From a personal point of view, I'm devastated with what happened, but on the other hand, I'm absolutely delighted that Tyrone have defeated Kerry and we've made it into the All-Ireland final.
Certainly, let's go back to that first half. He really steamrolled Kerry. Obviously, that was the strategy.
Well, I suppose every team goes out, they want to get off to a good start, but we made a point of it because we would have been very aware that if Kerry had built up a good lead, then we certainly would have been in trouble. So it was vital that we got out of the blocks fast and we managed to get a couple of good scores on the board early.
Give me your version of that.
Yeah, I do. I believe I got a haymaker towards the end of the game, all right, but maybe over the years being involved up here in Croke Park, maybe just coming to me. I'm certainly not going to be making an issue of it anyhow. Probably a little supporter or somebody who got carried away, but I'm not certainly going to be making an issue of it.
Mickey's a plan. He just says that the best tacklers in the team should be 15, 14 and 13, and I think that's what been our attitude, is that the corner forwards defend like corner backs as if they're defending the goal, and I think that the whole forward line today makes it far easier for a corner back, like whenever you boys like Jared and Brian and Owen working their socks off, and the balls that were going in today were 50-50, and it gave me and the rest of the defenders a better chance, you know, but it was phenomenal in the first half.
Give us the exclusive. Who would you prefer, Donegal or Armagh?
What I say doesn't matter because we're going to get whoever wins next week. It's just one of those things. As I said, we'll take whoever we get at this stage, and you know, good luck to the two of them.
What about yourself now, Paddy? Because obviously there's going to be a post-mortem in Kerry. Will you stay on as manager?
Well, there's always a post-mortem in Kerry, and you know, in fairness, Marty, I have given quite an amount to the game as a player and whatever involved now, and you know, I don't think it would be right on myself to make a decision today or tomorrow or the day after, so I'm going to take my time in this situation, and I've no doubt that I'll come up with what I consider is best for everybody in the end.
Yeah, with a full-blooded, wholehearted display by Tyrone at Croke Park this afternoon. The Ulster champions asked the hard questions all day long, and Kerry really had no answers. OK, at this point we're going to take a commercial break, but coming up in part 2 of the programme, analysis of today's big match, and there's lots more besides. Porcamogie star Lyndon Lee will be here with us a little bit later on to talk about yesterday's semi-finals in Ennis. But right now, let's talk football. That, of course, is this afternoon's big match at Croke Park. Pat Spillane and Kevin McStay here with me in the programme. Pat, come to you in a minute, I suppose, about Kerry and what happened to them today. But on a positive note, first of all, let's look at Tyrone. They set out the mission this year to get to the All-Ireland final. They're there and well deserved it today.
Yeah, and I think, you know, well flagged from early on in the season. They're National League champions. They're going fierce well. They have a lot of big wins at underage behind them. I think they were a coming team. I said it earlier in the season. I'm delighted for them. It was a very, very good win for them. Like, I have no doubt in the world, best team won today. And they'll be thrilled. Now, some of us will have some reservations about the way the second half degenerated, perhaps. But they'll be thrilled with it. They won't care two hoots how they got into the final. They're there now and waiting for what's going to come next Sunday.
The bigger the county is, the greater the analysis is going to be, and the fallout from a defeat. And for Kerry, this was a rough defeat today.
It was. I've selected my colour scheme tonight to match, of black and grey, to match the sombre mood that I feel. And look, analysis is quite simple of today's game. Tyrone dominated in all sectors and deserved to win. There's no ifs, no buts, no nothing at all. The better team won today. I think they've adopted the policy of, I don't know what American sporting coach said, it's better to win ugly than lose pretty. This wasn't a pretty contest, but then these boys aren't in the business of entertainment. They're not getting extra marks like in diving or synchronized swimming for aesthetic beauty. It's results what counts, and whatever means they're not in the business, like I said, of entertainment. Gaelic football evolved from the game of CAD, and this CAD was the game where one parish took the ball to the opposite end of the other parish, and the other parish did everything in their power to stop him. Well, this was a game of CAD today. I don't want to see a game that had 72 frees, which must be a record for a championship game. That's equivalent to 92 frees in a soccer match, or 82 frees in a rugby match. It was like kids playing in an overcrowded schoolyard. I mean, the game I loved, this is not the game that I love to play and I love to be involved in, this negative, defensive orientated stop-start, cynical gamesmanship of trying to stop the game and kicking being a last option. I fear for the future of Gaelic football if this is the way it's going to evolve. And remember, there's no rule changes for the next couple of years. This sort of football that I saw today will not fill Croke Park. I tell you this: the sooner they open Croke Park, the better. But it's not a case of this game left a sour taste in my mouth, and it's not a case of sour grapes because the better team won today. But I'll tell you, to describe today's football, do you know what I'd describe it? I'd call it puke football.
Mickey Hart and his selectors will love to hear that kind of comment Kevin makes today, because that's the kind of inspiration that will drive them on to win the All-Ireland.
Yeah, I don't think they'll worry a whole lot about it. In all truth, Pat, with due respect. I'd have to say the first 20 minutes of the game was pretty good until Canavan's injury. Tyrone were moving well. He went off, they had to rejig a wee bit. And see, the problem for the Tyrone setup is they have 4 defensively minded attackers. You know, you take McGuigan, Dooher, Cavlin. We're talking midfielders, guys that naturally played deep. Then they brought McGinley out. Now, it was a lot more than blanket defence. It was close to eider down defence in the second half, I would suggest. And that's what gave it the ugly look. You have to say, Pat, in all fairness, you know, the Kingdom rode in as well. I mean, there was plenty of fouls coming from their side.
Yes, yes.
I'm not flying a flag now for Tyrone by any means. I didn't enjoy the game for sure.
Yeah.
It was poor stuff, hard going in the second half. I mean, I think they got 4 points apiece in the second half. A lot of them near the end really didn't matter a whole lot. You
have picked out 1 or 2 clips, though, to show Tyrone moving the ball well and doing what they do well.
Yeah, and what they're good at, they are excellent at. They handle the ball really well. Now, this is the good, the bad, and the illegal is the first one, Michael, I want to talk about. Cabinet coming from deep, very dangerous, popped the ball over with the open hand. I don't want to be going on about it. If you give him the ball to Mulligan, it was a goal, of course. Now, I picked this one because this is late in the game, and the hustle is still fierce from the Tyrone lads. And I suppose Dooher gets, for me, the point of the game, and good luck to him. He's under a bit of pressure the last few weeks, and it was great, very appropriate that he would finish. But they were hustling really strong in the 68th, 69th, 70th minute. They wanted to get to this final so badly compared to the Kerry boys, and they did it.
You've had the task of looking at some of Kerry's play, which was less than impressive today. Now, giving credit to Tyrone, some of the things that Kerry did today didn't look like Kerry.
Yeah, they didn't seem to learn from last year at all, you know, and they knew going to this game today what Tyrone's game plan was, this blanket type defence. And we look here at a few clips. Their style of play today was slow and cumbersome. This is a Kerry attack. It's really going nowhere. It slows the game down. It gives a chance for defences to reorganise. Look at the way the amount of Tyrone defenders behind the ball. It's slow moving. It's cross-field ball. And then when some Kerry players attempt to kick it, look, the ball is blocked down, space at a premium. Tyrone player gets it and it's cleared. Here's a free, which should be probably put over the bar, or if not, kicked into the edge of the square. Instead it's ambled into the corner, where Declan O'Sullivan now has to pass around 13 fellas to get from that corner. Instead it's an out short pass out to Sean O'Sullivan. Sean O'Sullivan fumbles it and the ball goes over the line. And again, another incident here. It goes to Liam Hassett. He fumbles it first time. This was the sort of urgency that they had today. There was a slowness and speed and action, you know. And like Tyrone had the hunger. I mean, hunger is not in any manual, or there's no drills to... But Kerry, I said if Kerry were to have a chance today, they'd have had to match Tyrone in terms of work ethic and hunger, and they failed to do that. And I think what we saw in evidence there with Kerry is something what we saw in evidence with Meath and Galway Lash. Players with a lot of mileage in the legs, players with All-Ireland medals in the pocket, and they just didn't have the hunger and the will and the commitment. You know, it's maybe past the sell-by date for some of these players, even maybe management. They brought great honour and glory to Kerry, but I think it's time for a break, to refocus, recharge batteries.
But the word from the Sunday game tonight is there is a ray of hope for Kerry.
Yes, because it was hard enough, you know, today they couldn't
call it a ray.
I think they wouldn't have got past 6 Tyrone players if there was only 6 Tyrone players. Now they couldn't get past 15, but if you watch carefully here, number 23 suddenly reappeared out of the scene to stop a Kerry attack. This was Seamus Mulgrew. Look at him running off the field. Seamus actually was never introduced as a sub, so at some stage during the game he actually ran on. Now the rules of the game state forfeiture of the game in the case of playing 16 players. Now, as a Kerry man, I will not be try to show my Kerry hat here tonight. I will say we wouldn't claim the game, but I think the game should be replayed again. The referee was so flipping pernickety today where he spotted everything and anything. You'd think a junior B, that wouldn't happen in a junior B game where a fella runs on from the side and plays for a couple of seconds and runs off again. That's a joke. So a replay.
He felt he was going
midnight.
Mulgrew felt he was going very well in training though, and he should get it.
He wanted to show the manager.
Well, like all the other Tyrone players today, he certainly was keen. Okay then, we're going to come now to this afternoon's man of the match selection from the big game. And that selection is Tyrone's wing-back Philip Jordan, on a day when Tyrone's defence snuffed out Kerry's highly regarded forwards. Jordan, I think, exemplified all that was solid and tenacious about the Ulster men. Well, I think really, gentlemen, to sum this up, Kevin, it was just really a great team performance by Tyrone today, all round the park.
It was, and the way the game went, it had to be a team ethic. And certainly, I heard last week people saying that, you know, there's no ego in the Kilkenny hurlers. I can assure you, there's no ego in the Tyrone footballers. They're all in it for themselves. We could have gone, you know, McGuigan had a super match, Dewar had a very fine game, and so on. So that's the sort of performance they got. They got all their key players playing well, and the ones that we perhaps hadn't been looking at so much, they really rose it. And a great team performance, and that's why they won so handily.
Gentlemen, thanks for the moment. Earlier this afternoon at Croke Park, we saw the first of this year's minor All-Ireland semi-final places filled. In contention were Kerry and Laois. Highlights for Kerry.
Well, I suppose Gillian O'Sullivan did come second in the World Championship, so maybe we should concentrate on race walking instead of football. No, it wasn't a good day. I suppose that the result of that minor game hinged on sort of two goalkeeping errors. Brendan Keeley, slow to clear responsible for the first goal because of slow clearance, and responsible probably for the second goal, flapping at the ball. But at the end of the day, Laois were deserving 5-point winners. I can well understand why Mikko has taken over the senior job, because there's a conveyor belt of young talent coming through in Laois.
Let's look at next week's semi-final, senior semi-final between the All-Ireland champions Armagh and Donegal. People will begin to drift this week and think that it's a Tyrone-Armagh final. I'm sure Donegal have a lot to say about that.
They have, and I have to say, they surprised me. I didn't give them a big prayer in the quarter-final, Michael, but they were excellent and got an extra game out of it as well, which will do them no harm. It's going to be a serious tactical battle, I would say, between the two teams. Not one I'd be massively looking forward to as a football connoisseur. We might have more of the blanket back. I'd say there'll be a blanket protest soon by a few of us if it keeps going. That might be a bit unfair to Donegal. Donegal have improved dramatically since the defeat to Fermanagh, and they will certainly put it up seriously to Armagh, who are, I think, the most complete team left in this championship.
I feel that Donegal, and I've said this before, haven't done an awful lot wrong last summer or this summer either, apart from the Fermanagh match. In fairness to Fermanagh, like, they won the game deservedly on the particular day. But they have some nice footballers, and they have a structure this particular year, and particularly against Galway the last day, down in Castlebar, played very well.
I would agree with you, Michael. I actually think that Donegal can put it up to Armagh, because they're the only team left that can actually match them in the physical stakes. It will be a dog-eat-dog game of attrition, but they can match them in the physical stakes. I think if Armagh would have much preferred to play Galway, they don't like to play Donegal. I was talking to Martin McHugh today, and Martin McHugh said one thing about Donegal is they're never afraid of playing an Armagh team, and this crowd aren't. Their ganders up, they've had a lot of victories under their belt, confidence at a high. As I said, if you're looking for a pretty contest or a pretty spectacle next week, I think stick to the Rosa Tralee.
But Armagh, they are the All-Ireland champions. They're not there for no reason. They had a hiccup in Ulster. They've put themselves right again. They're right back in form.
The hiccup in Ulster was grand for them, Michael. It got them out of the attrition in Ulster, in my opinion. They arrive with massive experience. They're in good shape, no serious injuries. You'd have to say they have an awful lot going for them. They've been watching today's game as well, and they will be mad keen to be playing Tyrone in the final in September. And you know, I think looking at in an overall view, we will expect a tough physical game. And Pat is right. Donegal will match them physically. I've known they have a fine, strong physical team and plenty of ball players, I have to say as well. But all in all, I couldn't leave Armagh for this game. I think they will take Donegal.
Yeah. You know, the one thing about it is that at times, I suppose, those of us in the media, maybe on the Sunday game, have kind of thrown a sharp eye at times to Ulster football. Maybe rightly so at times. Maybe rightly so. But the fact of the matter is, what's left of the All-Ireland Championship this year?
Yeah, it's a fair point, Michael.
No getting away from it.
There's no doubt about it. Look, the best football is in Ulster. It's the highest standard and whatever like that. Okay, so be it. We don't like their particular methods. They're fair methods. They're not foul methods. They're fair. This blanket defence is quite acceptable. And like I said, at the end of the day, no one gives a damn. You look at the list of All-Ireland winners over the last couple of years, and you don't ask, I wonder, was that a good team or a bad team? Was that a great All-Ireland? Was that a very attractive footballing team? Result says 2002 champions Armagh. And at 2003, Tyrone won't give a tuppenny if their name is 2003 champions. No, they're the best. They play the best football. They study the game more. They're more analytical. Okay, they concentrate on the negatives maybe perhaps a little bit too much because they don't have to. But they're the best football. The best football is being played in that province, and fair play. And like I said, it's results that count at the end of the day, and effectively begrudgers.
Kevin has said he can't look beyond Armagh in this particular one.
For next Sunday.
For next Sunday, yes. For next Sunday, yeah. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with you. I mean, Joe Kennel will love us for this. I mean, but I wasn't terribly impressed by Tyrone today.
they met Kerry at their very, very worst and found it damn hard to get rid of Kerry. With 10 minutes to go, there was only 4 points in it. Tyrone in the second half went something like 27, 28 minutes without getting a score. I just think Armagh are the foreign team in the country at the moment, and look hell-bent and focused and very committed on retaining their All-Ireland title.
Hans Blank, you have Max Day. Thank you very much indeed. Now, next here on the Sunday game.
All-Ireland champions Cork, fancied for this semi-final. They're going to face a fairly stiff task against these Galway girls. It's Emer Dillon giving it inside for Caoimhe Harrington. Chance of a goal. Fiona Driscoll. Well, here's a very good example of combination play. Caoimhe Harrington spotting that Fiona Driscoll was available inside, and the finish, well, unstoppable. Martina Haverty getting a touch. There's Cork again, challenge, getting there. Ahead of the marker is Caoimhe Harrington. Down fires Orla O'Sullivan. There's a chance of a second goal. Brilliantly finished by St. Finbarr's Orla O'Sullivan. 2 goals in the space of a minute, scored by the 2 corner forwards. Here's goal number 2. Orla O'Sullivan setting herself up here, balancing perfectly and hitting a brilliant shot into the back of the Galway net. Mary O'Connor with the free. Dropping this one in. Caoimhe Harrington, beautifully caught, cutting inside. Can he finish? Oh, superb. Brilliant goal by Caoimhe Harrington, and it means that the 3 goals have been scored by the Cork full forward line. First Fiona Driscoll, then Orla O'Sullivan, and this latest goal by full forward Caoimhe Harrington from Newtown Shandrop. Midfielder dropping this in. This is quite a good ball. It's there for Galway. Stephanie Dunlea not quite getting there. This is going to be a penalty. The referee indicating that the Galway player was fouled inside the large rectangle. We've had 27.5 minutes played in this opening half, and Galway have yet to score. Standing over the ball is full forward Lourdes Kavanagh. She really has to score to give Galway any chance in the second half. Here she is. Saved by Ger Casey. And Cork get it out somehow. That's a great ball over far as Jennifer O'Leary. Fiona Driscoll trying to make a little bit of space for her inside. Jennifer turning inside, in and over the bar. It's her first point, but she's been very impressive right from the beginning. Lourdes Kavanagh gets a chance to swing the hurley and sends it over the bar. Breach Corkery certainly is determined to make an impact since introduced. Dropping this in. Chance of another goal. Nora Hearn at the end of it. This was a real substitute combination. Breach Corkery sent in the high ball. When Louise Curry could only just bat it out, Nora Hearn was there to finish it to the net.
The objective for me up today was to qualify for an All-Ireland final, and we've done that. I suppose the game was so one-sided, it's not going to be any real preparation for the All-Ireland. I mean, we're not going to be reading anything into that like it. There was still not a lot of sloppy play on our behalf. You know, the play was slow and there was over-elaboration up front, so we still have a lot to do before the 24th of September.
We thought that after getting the heart beaten there a couple of weeks ago by Cork, we came in well against Kilkenny and we came in well against Antrim, and training was going well, and you know, with a good challenge here against Limerick a couple of days ago, and everything went well. But it's like you said there a few minutes ago, you have good days and you have bad days, and today again, you know, Cork are just one super team, and it's going to take some effort for to beat them, you know.
If you think about it, like if you're gone 3 days without food and there's food put in front of you, you're going to be hungry, and the crowd that had food yesterday, like, was supposed to be like that was us. We won it last year, but I mean, you never know how many more chances you're going to get. Like, we're in an All-Ireland final, and every time you're there you want to win it, and they may or may not be at an advantage. I mean, we're going to put our heads down now and really have a cut off this.
every year it's getting harder, and you know, I love the game, and you know, you never want to say goodbye to the game of camogie, but there's a time when you kind of have to go, and you know, it's getting harder every year, you know, and the legs are getting a bit tired every year, but you never know. I have a break now, maybe just go back to the club, but you know, I'll take the break and I'll come back in January, February, and I'll make my decision then, please, guys.
Well, so then it's a Tip Cork All-Ireland Camogie final on September the 21st. Cork's Lyndon Lee joins me here in the studio. Lynn, you're very welcome indeed. Let's look at these two matches from yesterday, which you were at. And the first game, Limerick, as I said in the interview there, they did their best. Things went against them in the first half. Tip are a good side, and it kind of went away from Limerick.
It did really. I mean, I must say, Vera, when she spoke after the game, she was telling the truth. Limerick did come in, did give a good display, but really, in terms of ability, in terms of skill, Tipperary were dominant throughout. Now, I must say there were some redeeming factors for Limerick. The fact that an early goal went in against them really didn't do them justice when you look at the scores. But there were some great performances from Vera Sheehan, Aoife Sheehan, we're looking at a lot of Sheehans here, Deirdre Sheehan. Rose Collins came into it, Eileen O'Brien as well. So, I mean, they do have players, they are coming together. This round-robin system has brought them into the semi-finals. It's a good place for Limerick. They've learnt a lot, and I think they will go away and come in next year a better team because of it.
But Tip have been a quality side, I suppose, after the last number of years, so it's not surprising to see them in the final.
No, you really couldn't have put any question on Tipperary, really. I mean, straight from the minute the game started, you could see they were a class outfit. Yeah. They are talented. They are a very strong team. They're not contesting 4 or 5 All-Irelands for nothing, you know. So, yeah, they're justified in the final.
Lynn, your own county would have been favourites in the second match, but the way it actually panned out in the end really didn't do any justice to Galway.
Certainly. I would have expected a better contest, I must say. Now, I know they met earlier in the championship, with Cork coming out very much the easy winners, but I thought that Galway would come with something more. They have the players. I mean, they've got Tracy Leaheen, they've got so many of these players that are playing over the years. They are experienced. But 5 minutes into the game, Cork had 2 goals, 2 points up. Yeah. They were lording it at centre-back. Mary O'Connor was playing outstanding. 2 quick goals from Fiona and Orla. Caoimhe Harrington was chasing everything and working really, really hard. And really, the appetite of Cork, within 10 minutes, the contest was over, really.
Sure, yeah.
You know? So, I mean, Galway didn't do themselves justice. They have the players, but really, again, there wasn't